Hello, everyone. Welcome to our wonderful Women in Tech Carnival organized by Huawei in the framework of the Global Peter Drucker Forum here in Vienna today. I am so happy to have you all here. My name is Berta Herrero Estalayo. I am the head of Equality, Diversity and Inclusion at Huawei EU and also the director of our Schools for Female Leadership in the Digital Age and our Women's Academy for Rural Innovation. So it's a big pleasure to be realizing this dream of so many colleagues of mine, of so many bright minds. We are trying to make it a reality, to have tech with her, tech by her, and also tech for her. No matter the order in which you say these words, the important thing is that women have to be fully involved in the tech revolution. They have to be leaders at the forefront of this tech revolution. And we definitely want to empower women to take the next step and be the change that they want to see in this world. So without due delay, I will want to actually tell you what's going to happen today. It's a lot of things. We have a lot of exciting activities. We are going to hear from very distinguished guests, both as keynote speakers and both as panel speakers as well. We have two panels. Most of our speakers are here in person today in Vienna, but we also have some speakers connecting from all over the world, from Asia to Africa and going back also to the Middle East as well. And we also have our inspiring session where we are going to hear from women who are revolutionizing not only women's well-being, but also their health and access to safe water in Africa. And we also have a very exciting announcement to make by our Global Vice President, Afke Shart, who is also joining us here in Vienna. And it's a big pleasure to have you, Afke. So that's it. Without due delay, let me introduce you to our first speaker for the opening speech. You already know, most of you already know who she is. She's Ada Yonath, Nobel Prize winner in chemistry. She got this award in 2009, but I also want to tell you a bit more about herself because it's important that we know the context, that we know where women come from, and that it's not always easy. So she was born in Israel, and she's one of the heroes behind antibiotics. So she's actually a woman who has truly improved lives worldwide. And I very much like a quote that she said and that I want to read out loud before she joins us, because I think it tells you everything you need to know about how important it is to persevere, to keep fighting, even if people tell you that maybe this is not for you and maybe you should consider something else. No, look at Ada, what she said. I was described as a dreamer, as a fantasist, even as the village idiot. I didn't care. What I cared about was convincing people to allow me to go on with my work. That's Ada Yonath, and today she's one of the laureates with the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. So without due delay, Ada, if you can hear us, I would very much like to welcome you. Let's see if we can have Ada. As soon as she appears, then we give her a big applause. Yes, there we go. Ada, we have you somewhere. Yeah, I mean, Israel is a bit far if you didn't realize in the map, but we were almost having you on screen.
Well, earlier I was. Here.
There you go. Thank you, Ada. Big applause to Ada.
Thank you for inviting me. I must say that I'm not the type of person that talks about women's rights and female and so on, but I still have something to tell you, at least about myself and about my life. I just heard, actually today, a female, a woman, talking about the right of women and about a corporation that she is associated with that decided to have some slots for female in order to help them. she said this was really, really bad because there were more female than the slots, and this made a big fight between them instead of joining forces. So the female equality and the fights for it are not only in my opinion, but also in the opinion of this woman, not exactly getting the point that they are designed for or meant for. So myself, I was born as a girl and I'm still a female. And I never felt anything that is special for me, except that I'm a mother. And this is what we can do, the female. Men cannot do this. They can adopt kids, but they cannot be pregnant and deliver kids. And this is a specific contact, which is demanding, but also full of pleasure. Apart from it, I studied in a class that had boys and girls. When I was in the high school and I had to select if I want humanities or sociology or mathematics or science, I chose mathematics and science. First, it was not difficult for me. It was second, I liked it. And third, I felt that everything else I can do on my own. But for science, I need some directionality. And this was really very good. I didn't tell you, but I was born to a very poor family, extremely poor family. And my father died when I was 11. My mother was wonderful, but she didn't have education. And she did her best to keep me and my little sister. My sister was only 2 years old, I was 11. But she could not provide everything. So essentially from the age of 11, I was working. And I had a lot of jobs. I had lots of private kids that came to study. And because we had a very small apartment, we were sitting on the balcony and I was teaching them chemistry or mathematics on the balcony. Then I was cleaning stairs. I was carrying bags from the supermarkets. I was watching young children. I started working at 5 a.m. and learned afterwards the whole day. And then I took care of my little sister. And then I had other jobs. So jobs did not frighten me. I think that if I look into it, I didn't see many boys, even when they were coming from poor families, that took on themselves so many responsibilities. But anyway, let's not talk about it. Let's talk. You actually wanted to know about how I got to where I am in science, in prices, and so on. So after I finished high school, and first of all, I studied to be a teacher. So I will have a profession. And actually, I used it. When I was a student, I was also teaching in a high school in parallel. But in science, what drove me and still is driving me is my curiosity. I really wanted to understand. I will tell you a few examples in a minute. But this was what drove me, and it could have driven a man also. there is nothing specially related to female in my curiosity. So what I wanted to understand, or let's say, first of all, I convince myself, and actually it's correct, that function of whatever is related to its structure. My best example is, I'm sure you still know what are paper clips, although less useful in these days. You can change them, you can change their structure with your fingers because they are so thin. They are made of thin wire. Once you change it, even a little bit, it won't keep 2 pages together. What paper clip's supposed to do? You don't cut, you don't boil, you don't. It's the same paper clip, but a different structure. So even this little example is a nice one to explain many more, actually all life and all near life happening is structure related. So I wanted to understand, let me start. When I was young, a young scientist, very young, just beginner, the DNA was already discovered. And also it was discovered that it is full of genes. There are other things there too, but the genes are there. And the genes are coding for the life workers, which are called proteins. All proteins are coded by genes. And what I wanted to understand, this was known, but what I wanted to understand is, how do the genes express themselves? How do the proteins that are made by the genes, how does it happen? So it was known already that there is an in-between, intermediate between the gene, which is DNA, and the protein, which is called mRNA or messenger RNA, which became very popular now with the COVID. But at that time, it was a mystery. And this messenger RNA, which has all the information of the gene, is bound itself to a particle called ribosome that knows to connect the building blocks of proteins that are called amino acids, one to the next one, to the next, to the next, according to the instructions in the messenger RNA. This was known, but not how. Don't you think it's interesting? So this is what I wanted to understand. And I knew that I wasn't the only one. I was young and beginner, but there were already established scientists, very established, big professors at Harvard, in Oxford, in Stanford, in Max Planck, in many, many very highly respected institutions with highly respected staff that wanted to understand and failed. I don't want to go now to all details, but in order to understand, they, like me, they thought, or I, like them, thought that the function is related to the structure. And the structure has to be determined. It was not known, especially the structure of the machine that put everything together, the ribosome. So in order to determine the structure at that time, a method called crystallography had to be used, which is a complicated method, but the method's principles were already established by giant scientists, and the starting material should be a crystal, a little body that is made by symmetrical operation in 3 dimensions. Little crystals of the material that one wanted to know the structure of. So crystals of ribosomes were needed and could not be obtained. This was already known. And when I declared that I wanted to do it, everybody told me, you will fail like all the others. And I had another idea about crystals of ribosomes. And this is because I had a bicycle accident. And when I had a bicycle accident, I got a brain concussion, head concussion, very, very serious, that kept me in bed, in hospital, and then at home for almost half a year. And in this time, not every day I could read science. Therefore, I read everything else. And I got into my hands a travel brochure of one of the air companies. We are talking now about the beginning of the middle of the 70s or end of the 70s. It means over 50 years ago. And I read that a delegation that went to the North Pole to see how the bears are sleeping during the winter. This was their mission, to understand how they sleep, how they hibernate. Because the bears are going to sleep in the beginning of the winter, like in December, get up at April, May, and can function. How can this happen? This is what they wanted to understand. I'm not sure that I was convinced that they understood it, but they looked at the cells of these bears, of course, already dead bears, and they found that inside their cells, in the inner part, the ribosomes are very well organized, like blocks, one next to the other, almost like a crystal, but on only one layer, a monolayer crystal. So I thought, first of all, it was interesting for me. And second, ribosomes can be ordered, which was known at that time in the scientific world that they cannot, because nobody could do it in the lab, in the test tube. And then I thought, why does it happen? And in my opinion, it happens because the bears, when they are asleep, they hardly function. But when they get up, they have to function and do all the things that a person has to do. And if the ribosomes will deteriorate, what happens to ribosome with time, they will not have ribosomes. They won't be able to function. It means that the nature has a system to preserve the ribosomes, not to let them disintegrate, because they are packed very closely. So from this, I deduced that under pressure, ribosomes can be kept in ordered way. So this was the idea, and people really laughed at me. Not only this, I didn't really want to go to the North Pole and kill bears in order to do my research. I thought about other pressure systems, like sewages of nuclear facilities, or the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is the lowest point in the world, very hot and very salty, so salty that there is no life there. No fish, no trees, nothing. And it's in Israel, in my country. So I knew about it, and I also knew there is no life there, but there are two types of bacteria. And I thought I will use this bacteria, extract the ribosomes, and these ribosomes know to live under pressure, let's say, and they will be a good starting point. And indeed they were, but it was not a popular item to describe. Everybody laughed at me. Oh, she's in the Dead Sea, she's in the water, she's in the salt. So people laughed at me, as you already heard, I was called the village fool or many others. I didn't pay attention to it. So now, it means not now, but after I did determine the structure and the function of ribosomes, and two groups of very famous men professors copied from us. After all of it, people ask me, weren't you upset that people laughed at you? I didn't have time to think about it. I thought about my project. And it was not easy. We did many other things. I won't tell you all the problems that I had on the way. But the wish to understand was so high that I just didn't pay attention to it. And afterwards, many females told me, if you were not a female, they wouldn't laugh at you so much. If you were a man, they would respect you more. So what? I heard it afterwards, but didn't change. Anyway, my life is, I'm just one person, and although I determined, I found a scientific finding that couldn't be done otherwise, I'm very proud of it, but it's just one thing, and the world is full of people. And the only little study or little idea that I got from my own work is people told me if you were a man, you won't be so much, people won't laugh at you so much. Maybe, but we don't have to pay attention to it. So in general, I think that science is gender independent. This is clear. And there are many, many other occupations that are gender independent. There are some that are gender dependent. And I relate now to all, gender dependent or gender independent. Salaries and conditions have to be the same for men and women, in my opinion. And there are still places that female are not well or not equally treated. But otherwise, gender independent quality is the point. And in science, also curiosity. If something is close to the heart and the scientists, men or women, are very curious about it, there is a chance. So I'm not sure that you all really wanted to hear all these stories, but I don't have others. Please forgive me. That's only, I didn't do it. Sorry?
I think it's great that you were actually able to share these stories with us today. And if you want to deliver some final words, because like the audience is so inspired by your example, and as you said, if you were a man, they would have respected you more. You cannot imagine how many women have to hear that and encounter that in their daily lives. So if you would like to deliver some closing words, and then we will say bye to you until next time.
Yeah, I just wanted to finish and say more or less the same. So thank you for helping me.
Thank you, Ada. Big applause. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I hope that I gave some expectations to whoever still has a feeling that female are lower.
Ada Yonath, you're a role model and you inspire us all to strive for more, and you also inspire us to opt for the Nobel Prize, because who knows, one day one of our ladies sitting here might win it. So thank you, Ada, and see you soon. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Wonderful, perfect. That was Ada Yonath, winner of the Nobel Prize in 2009. This is amazing. We are getting into the mood of empowering women. This should be our mood every day, by the way. And very quickly, we are going, well, in case you didn't notice, I'm from Spain. And of course, we're going to go now back to Spain twice to hear from two wonderful women leaders. The first one is Teresa Cervero Garcia. She's a leading research engineer at the Barcelona Supercomputing Center. Before I introduce her any further, let's watch a video where she tells everything you need to know about herself. Thank you.
My name is Teresa Cervero. I'm a PhD in telecommunication engineering, and I'm working as a leading research engineer at Barcelona Supercomputing Center, where basically I'm more focused on designing and developing accelerators and infrastructure for future supercomputers. Right now I'm working just in one big European project. Basically what I'm doing is design and develop technology for future machines to solve problems like where the universe was created. I'm working on, with a team of course, on designing and developing those devices to make that possible. When I was at the age of deciding what I wanted to do in the future, I wasn't sure what to decide. I had an engineering mind, so I said, hey, let's try telecommunication engineering. And at the moment I started to say, hey, I love this. For me, my best reference in my life is my mother. I've had a lot of discussions with her saying, hey, that's not gonna work. And she always said, no, this is gonna work. She builds that reality. As a woman, I think there are challenges. Keep the balance between personal and professional career. It's not easy. In my case, I'm a mother, so I have kids at home. So finding the way to balance your personal space with your kids, then with your work, it's not easy. It's true that sometimes we can, or I can feel alone because there's some kind of things that you cannot share, or sometimes I feel that it's a fight, an internal fight most of the time, because I need to demonstrate others that I can do this. I have to say that I'm very lucky in Barcelona Supercomputing Center because we have some groups trying to work on equity, diversity, people with different cultures, different mindsets, you know, to be sure that we are in a safe working space. I've seen a change, increase in the number of women in computer science, and I'm very happy for that. Every time I talk to one of those women, they never felt bad, even if they have been surrounded by men all the time. What I would like is to not just talking about gender, talking about human beings. I think they are moving in a good direction, in a better direction. That's the change that we need to create in the society.
So that was Teresa Cervero. And the good news is that Teresa is here and she's from Canary Islands, just like me, the most wonderful place in the world. So Teresa, hola, please.
Hello. Hello. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this great event. I think it's great to be here and sharing experiences and be, I don't know, fully involved in technology. Actually, it's something that Berta mentioned before. Women are in tech revolution. Actually, all of us are part of that revolution because all of us are users, are using technology all the time. Technology has been with us from the very beginning of the times. It's part of it has helped to the people and to all the society to evolve from the old civilizations to nowadays. Because remember that technology is not just the devices that we are using right now with this digital technology. It's all the mechanism, the procedures, the tools that we use for applying the scientific knowledge and making things working in an easier way, being more efficient. So we are using technology all the time, even if we are not aware of that. So I invite you to think and be aware of that at the moment that you are repeating the same kind of process because it helps you to do something. That's technology. So we all of us are engineers at some point. And it's true that technology is helping us to change all the aspects of our lives. It's impacting in a positive way, at least from my point of view, in all the aspects in our lives. From the society perspective, is helping us to communicate in a different way. Actually, I'm here working, talking with all of you in remote, whereas most of you are there in person. And this is great. And this thanks to technology. Technology is also helping us to learn in a different way. We are accessing to a lot of information just with a click. We use our laptops to connect, and at least in most of the world, we have that possibility, and we are connected. We can have access to a lot of knowledge. We can be connected and sharing experiences with other people in other places, and this is great. Technology is also impacting on our industries, how we in our economy, what we produce, how we produce technology, and how we consume that technology. For example, we have the Industry 4.0, the Internet of Things. All of us have heard about smart cities. So all of us are using in one way or another smartphones to connect and accessing to, checking the emails, for example. So we are using technology all the time. And also, of course, something important nowadays is on the sustainability. Technology is helping a lot on that. For example, we are making more efficient ways, more efficient energies. We are working on that. Then we are reducing the carbon footprint. So yes, we are using technology all the time, and in my case, I'm part of the people that are working on technology, developing technology. Well, be more precise, I'm coordinating people that is actually producing that. Something I would like to say, it's very important for me to mention that I've been always surrounded by men because at the moment I started studying in engineering. Most of the people in my class were men. Also, when I decided to go for a PhD, the same. I traveled to different places and different laboratories, and most of them were men. However, I never felt apart. I always was one more in all the places I've been. I never had any, at least I never felt any distinctions, because we were professionals, and also we were involved in what we were doing. We were passionate by technology and all the things we were working on. And the most important things, as you saw in the video, all of us are human beings. So we have a lot of things in common, and we have to be able to exploit that. We shouldn't fight about men, women. We should collaborate and looking for the things that make us grow as people and also as professionals. And one of the things that I have to say about technology is that it's helping a lot to break all the barriers that we had in the past, because technology is helping us to make women more visible, so creating role models for other girls and women everywhere around the globe, and that's very, very good. And it also helping us to connect in a different way, to create like a collective mindset and be aware of what we can do, because we can do everything. And I want to encourage to all the women to follow their passion. It doesn't matter what it is, but if you follow your passion, instead of finding problems or barriers, what you will find are adventures, you know. So you never fail if you follow your dreams, or instead of following your dreams, I like to say them, you have to be in front of your dream to push them, you know. That's the way things go ahead, and we never fail, even if the things doesn't end up as we wanted, because it's a learning process. So I think that's all. But the important message: follow your dreams. Let's use the technology in the way that help us to make things in a more efficient way, to communicate with other people, to connect, to share experiences, because that's a very, very important thing that we need to grow.
Thank you, Teresa. That was really nice words for you. Such an empowering message and an enlightening message. Girls out there, know that one day you can dream and you can become a leading engineer like Teresa at a supercomputing center. So thank you so much, Teresa, and see you very soon. Stay well.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Good. And next in line is another wonderful, brilliant Spanish woman. And this time is an artist. Her name is Arantxa Martinez, and you might not know her by her name yet, but you will remember her forever once you see her paintings. She's a painter. She uses technology to create art as well. And she paints in a way that reminds me of William Turner or Caspar David Friedrich. She's like a painter of romanticism. And what I love about her paintings is that, and please check them up in the internet, Arantxa Martinez, the women in her paintings look amazingly powerful, look determined, and look like they own the world. So let's see what Arantxa needs to tell us in her video.
My name is Arantxa. I'm a realist painter. Well, my work is being inspired on my goals, my own passions, the emotions that I want to feel. For me, these paintings are really personal. For example, if you think about the titles of my paintings, we can talk about absolute trust, or we can talk about freedom, or we can talk about strength, balanced, and power. It is very interesting just seeing so many paintings in the whole history where the main character is a woman. And what you can see is delicate women. You can see beauty, sometimes domestic scenes, but you can see goddess scenes too. Many different roles that women are expressing through these paintings, but we are just explained through man's mind and way of seeing reality. I talk from what I am, a woman, and it is easier to express myself through a women figure. And what we can see in the characters that we see in the paintings, it's all that personal experience just focused through a real person, through my models, not only by the people around us, like it was my case. I can be inspired by a person in Australia that is in the other side of the world. So that is magic. Those inspiring women all around the world. It is possible, exists, and now with digital technology, we have that access to the whole information. But we have to, we can be inspired because we are seeing science fiction, we are seeing great things, amazing things created by the human mind, but through technology. And those things were not in the mind of the people in the 19th century. It helps us to visualize things that maybe we don't see around us. We are constantly affected and constantly changing, and our way of perceiving reality is changing. The possibilities that we have to create in front of us are changing too.
So that was Arantxa Martinez, and she's joining us again today. Arantxa, now everyone has seen your wonderful paintings, your empowered female figures. So please use the next, if possible, 3 minutes to tell us about your vision. Thank you.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to be here with all of you. It's so nice to be here. My name is Arantxa, and I am a realistic painter, and I'm really happy to be with all of you sharing these minutes. It is true that due to my profession, that I am a traditional painter, so I work from life with the models in my studio, my brushes, my oil painting. We might think that technology is not very present in my reality. But that is not even possible. No way. Teresa was talking right now about it, because tech are the tools that humanity has always created to provide solutions to their needs and also to desires. So at this time in history, technology surrounds everything, and it is a very important part of our lives. If we talk about art, if we think about it, it is intimately related to the way of perceiving the reality we know, and with the way of presenting new ideas, the way of expressing ourselves. Therefore, one of the new circumstances caused by technology that affects art and everything else is global communication. It's like we can notice it now. So first of all, technology to the art world, it brings us the culture, thoughts, and imaginary from every single corner of the world. Now our reality is bigger and is richer than ever. It's if we focused on it, it's like our imagination fits now on the entire world and beyond. No matter where we are, how old we are, gender, color, culture, it does not matter at all anymore, fortunately. And technology has blurred these physical limits to our reach and allows us to go deeper and study almost any phenomenon that arouses our interest, giving us access to the knowledge of the entire humanity, past and present. So it is pretty amazing. What else too? It makes us aware not only of what is being done at the present time, but also of who is doing it, and what is their attitude, their motivation, their mindset. So the people who successfully grow the projects throughout the world are now part of our reality and our inspiration. We grow together and we grow faster. So we are being inspired by people in the other side of the world and also helped by them. We have more examples than ever to open doors, giving us choices. And there's something else that it's really important in the art world today. It's our imaginations are fired with images that, like they can only be created now with today's technology. And this has completely changed what we want to create, what we expect to see, what we want to see. So our way of perceiving reality and what we are going to create from this paradigm shift, the shift that we are living now in this moment has changed forever. We don't even know what it's coming next. And we have, for example, it's very clear when we think about 3D digital animation, that it's being in this constant evolution until reaching the current digital hyperrealism, not only part of the film industry, but being the leading edge technique to create this perfect multidimensional reality. So we're going to the metaverse. So wow, yes, it is amazing what we can create with technology in the art world and in any other profession. But once again, we have to be very clear that the most important thing, it is not the technology, it is the mind behind it. It is that purpose behind it. It is us. At the end, it's us once again. And this is why this meeting is so special, because Huawei is betting on equity, on inclusion, on nature, on our personal conscience and our social conscience too. So in short, for using technology to create a healthier, successful society in different aspects. So I hope we really enjoy the hours that we are going to share together, and it stimulates individual awareness and the desire to be part of this evolution of which we are all a part. A very, 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 really very important part. It's one of us. So here we go, because I think it's time to be aware of the huge value that the perspective of the 50% of society contributes to the way of life that we want to have. And I'm completely, totally agree with Teresa. If there's something to say about our future, our careers, how to face reality, it's just follow your passion, follow your well-being, look for that self-satisfaction, because it is far away of being something selfish. It is in fact the emotion that it's going to be with you in your path, leading you to the goal. It is, there are some things in any profession that you were talking about the strength of these women that we can see in my paintings. In fact, it's something that you have to look for it constantly. It is not something that you have constantly. It is something you have to look for it. And the way of just keep moving in the direction that you want is just being supported by your passion. That is the best way and the easiest way just to reach whatever you want. So
thank you, Arantxa. In Huawei, we say that passion unlocks potential, and your example shows it. Absolutely. I think, as you can see, the audience loves your paintings. And after seeing the powerful women that you are depicting, I think now we all want to make a change. And your example shows that women coming from humanities and from arts can also lead the digital age. So gracias, Arantxa, and see you soon. Good. Oh, this audience is wonderful. Thank you so much for being warm, for being welcoming, and for also being inspiring, because most of you are actually speakers today as well. Well, the team is going to start setting up the stage for our first panel. And while they do this, I will actually tell you one anecdote. Frequently at our schools for female leadership in the digital age, many people, not only the students, but especially those who are not students, such as the media, they ask, so why do you bring in students from humanities or from social sciences? What's like a philosophy student doing at your school, learning about technology? Well, the answer is simple. The tech revolution, the digital age, also needs people coming from humanities and coming from the social sciences. We need people that are not only deeply concerned about ethics, but that actually are willing to make a change in this direction, in making technology fully ethical, as it should always be, and fully inclusive of everyone. We need technology that values diversity, and we need technology that champions women leadership for sure. But also, most importantly, we need minds behind the tech revolution that are putting the foundations, that are laying the foundations, so that this revolution that is going to determine our future leaves no one behind. So with this said, yes, we love humanities and social sciences students, and we are going to start our panel. So my wonderful panelists, please join the stage. Sabina, Elova, Sally, and Moon. Big applause to them all. Yes. Wonderful, wonderful. And I'm going to introduce you to them. I have the pleasure, I must say, of knowing all of them before we came to this conference. And it's not a secret that I'm very close to some of them, because it's a pleasure to be able to share most of my time with amazing women. And Sabina Siofu, Associate Director for International Tech UK, is one of them. Hello, Sabina.
Hi, everyone.
I know that you have to go very soon because in case you didn't know, Sabina lives in a plane. She's always traveling. It's not true that she's in Brussels. She's never in Brussels, as we were saying. So we are going to keep it rather short so that Sabina can catch her plane. Otherwise, she stays in Vienna, which is also not so bad. But let's keep it short. We also have Elova Riegard. Elova, besides being a wonderful, well, very young leader and engineer, she's also the student who represented Sweden at our 2022 Winter School for Female Leadership in the Digital Age, which took place in Nice. Elova was selected among thousands of applicants to go to Nice, and today she was also selected among dozens of bright students to represent the young voices here today, Elova. So well done. And before we start, congratulations to Elova for this achievement, and big applause also for Elova. Then we have Munjerin. She's the founder and CEO of INDRI Protocol that I have also had the pleasure to meet before. And last but not least, we have Dr. Sally Eves, member of the Forbes Technology Council, among many other things. Hello, Sally.
Lovely to be here again.
It's great to see you again. So without due delay, and the only thing I ask from my panelists is like, let's please try to keep our answers short to below 2 minutes if possible. That's never going to happen. But in that case, if it's not happening, I will have to interrupt you. So I already ask for your apologies. Sabina, vamos a ver, Sabina. So in case you didn't know, Sabina has a wonderful TED Talk that she made not so long ago in Brussels, a few months ago. And it's called The Accidental Women in Tech. So Sabina, you are a leading woman in the tech sector, but we know each other from before. We both come from the European Parliament, so you are an accidental woman in technology. How is it like to be such a woman?
Yeah, I mean, that the context for the accidental women in tech is that, you know, once upon a time I studied Latin and ancient Greek. Then I went on to study war studies. So I never actually studied technology, and I work in technology policy and regulation. And, you know, the TED Talk was very much centered around this idea that we actually can't and shouldn't probably leave tech purely to the techies. And we actually need the diversity of background, all kinds of diversity, but also diversity of studies and background to create both good technology and good regulation for technology. So, you know, just to, but I will touch about, you know, because I've got, what, a minute and a half left now. I will touch on one point only, and then we'll have time to talk more about it. And I want to talk about the responsibility of being a female leader in tech, more than anything else, because for two reasons. One, I think as a female leader in tech, you have an added responsibility to make space for different voices, especially if you are, you know, if you find this kind of stuff easy. If you find kind of going into a boardroom full of men sitting down and speaking about whatever you're supposed to speak about easy. I think especially because of that, you have an added responsibility to make sure that people without your personality, but who have something important to add to a conversation, are heard and listened to. So I would say that's one thing. The other thing that kind of I incorporate under this responsibility element is keeping the ladder down. I can't tell you how many times I've heard in my career about how awful it is to have a female boss. You know, I prefer men as bosses because female bosses are awful. I've heard that so many times that it actually, you know, it breaks my heart, because in some cases it is actually true. And that comes from the fact that we don't focus on keeping the ladder down. And I think we need to do that more, especially as you advance in your career, and especially if you've had a particularly tough start. A lot of us did. As young women in our careers, a lot of us had troubles kind of climbing up that ladder and faced a lot of discrimination, faced a lot of, you know, gender stereotyping and other things. Make sure you don't do that to the next people climbing up the ladder. So I'll just stop there. There's many other things, but I'll stop there.
That's very true, Sabina. Thank you so much. And you are a role model for this. You are an example. Not only this is not empty words. You were one of the mentors of Elova at the winter school, and I think Elova could see how you were actually empowering her and her fellow students to strive for more and to indeed take that leadership challenges that they are facing nowadays. So Elova, as I said, you won an essay competition to be here, and you were writing about why do we need more women to be creators and not just users of technology.
Yeah, I think it's very important that we have women as creators and not just users as technology, since if only men create technologies, we only get one look on it and only one opinion, and we're missing the entire gender perspective of a woman. And there are many examples of this the past couple of years. For instance, the example with the crash dummies for cars. It's a very often used example that crash dummies were made of an average male when we're testing cars. And this results in women being more likely to be seriously injured in a car crash. However, this has been changed, but there's still cars out there that were only tested on men. And I thought we were past this, but unfortunately we're not. For instance, VR, something that's very on top right now, a topic that a lot of people talk about, is also mainly tested on men, resulting in women being more likely to be motion sick. This is something that I personally am really sad about, because I want technology to be inclusive for everyone. And of course, not just for every gender, but also from all backgrounds and everything. And if we actually look at inventions that women have made earlier, a lot of the inventions are made without conscious of being more safe. For instance, the windshield wipers were invented by a woman. And yet she didn't get recognized for it until just a couple of years ago. And when she told the car companies about this invention, nobody took her seriously. People said, you're not going to make it. This is a bad invention. But I mean, go out and look at the street. Every car has a windshield wiper. And I think this is because women care about their children, their mother, their grandmother. Maybe we have a more conscious view than men. And this is something that's very important. We need women in order to create technologies that are inclusive and that are fitted for everyone, in order to create a safe society that is good for everyone.
Those are very wise words, Selova. Now I know why you were selected to be here today, in case anyone had any doubts. And I know that they didn't, because the moment they saw you walking up the stage, you already owned the room. So congratulations on
Thank
that. Moon, Elova is an engineer. You are also an engineer, and you have been a leader also in women in engineering. And I want to ask you, a very simple question. Why, how, and what for? So why do we need women in engineering? How can we make this happen? And what can women in engineering do for society? I said simple. That was a joke.
Why we need women in engineering? You know, this is a really tough question, because when I was growing up in Bangladesh, there was no question. My parents did wanted me to become a doctor. I mean, it was still a very much of a science-focused profession. My father was an engineer, so I grew up watching him. But there was no talk in my family whether just because, you know, I'm a woman that I shouldn't be an engineer. So I think the narrative has to change. People should become what they want to become. That is the most important thing. I think we have to, because there is obviously that narrative that some people shouldn't be something, right? That's why you were saying that. I think last year, you know, when I was on a panel with you, one gentleman asked me what he should do to like empower his 7-year-old daughter to like learn mathematics. Well, what I want to really say is that it really starts at home with the parents who are here. You know, don't treat your daughters any differently. Just see what their interests are. And what our first keynote speaker just said, you know, from the very get-go, I feel that if you want to be an astronaut, just be an astronaut. Don't think about your gender. Don't think about your background. Those things are really, really irrelevant. And the reason why women should become an engineer, because they can. They're as capable as men or anybody else, and they should just pursue their mission and their vision. And number two is that what Ilova just mentioned, you know, everything we do in the world, we need the yin and the yang energy, right? And every single perspective is very much necessary. So that's why women should come to an engineering. How they can, was it the second question, how?
How we get more women into engineering.
Okay, so I was the chairperson in Women in Engineering in IEEE. You know, I founded that organization in my university during my undergraduate years. That time in Canada, there was only 17% women in engineering and computer science. And I know the number has been changing at the moment. And coming from Bangladesh, being in Canada, I was thinking, what's wrong here? Like, why is it only 17%? It doesn't make any sense to me. I think the how really comes from, again, starting at home and then inspiring women, you know, getting them into different types of project early on, telling them that they can do different things, creating role models. I always say a role model doesn't even have to be that another engineer or another scientist, but a role model is people making someone believe that you can do it. And I hate to say this, but I think sometimes we talk more about the negative scenario than the positive scenario. I think we have to proactively talk about the positive scenario where women are really excelling and how they're doing it, and that you can do it and make them believe about that. And that's how we can bring people in. And finally, what you just talked about, right? Like bring the ladder down, just inspire people, talk to them, and just be down to earth. And that's another way we can really hands-on do that. And your third question was?
That was the third question.
Oh, that was the third question. Okay.
Why it was why for society is good to have women in engineering, but I think you have just solved it for us. So thank you, Moon, and we will get back to this as well. But just to welcome again, Sally. Sally, we also had the pleasure of meeting before COVID. That looks like a long time ago. But at that time, we were already talking about one of your primary areas of interest, which is ethical tech. And as I said there, I do believe that we desperately need to get more focus into ethics, and you are an expert in this. So why for you is it important, and why do we need this ethical tech?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I might relate it to one of the answers already. So looking at some of the gaps we've got. So AI is one of the gaps where we've got biggest lack of diversity in the sector, alongside areas like security, testing and architecture. And if we look at like some of the issues of bias that we've been talking about, sometimes when we talk about technology and we talk about AI, it's almost an assumption that the bias is algorithm related. It's like the tech has caused it. Well, actually, it's what's fed into that. And there can be a lot of human biases. There's 180 on average, apparently, in terms of the different human biases we have. So if we drill it back, it's the team that's building that tech that makes the hugest difference. So if we have people from a diversity of gender, diversity of neurodiversity, different backgrounds, experience, architects, artists, etc., building that, A, we reduce the implicit bias that can go back to 180, but B, we get results that match what you believe, what you feel. If you're building a product or a service and you're not representing the end user of that, you're always going to fail and not deliver something. So there's one very practical example. We've got huge gaps here. And if we don't do this right, we're losing all the benefits of creativity and the satisfaction, the team cohesion, and the ultimate output that you get of a product and service. So I definitely said that because it related to some of the examples there. Secondly, in terms of AI ethics, the other thing I would like to mention is visibility that came up really strongly there. We need to make people curious about technology, not be afraid of it. You know, I think for many years, some of the headlines are always the scare story. So it'd be the security breach. I think prior to COVID in particular, AI, what it would take away from a job point of view, we don't look at it from the other angle, still in a balanced way, but to say, what can tech enable? What can it deliver for us? How can we have a complementary partnership and make things happen? I think we've had great examples from an AI ethics point of view in healthcare. So going back to the pandemic, we had something called the HPC Consortium, the biggest tech companies in the world, from telecommunications and other tech vendors as well, citizen scientists, individuals, schools, universities, all coming together. And we did things in terms of accelerating innovation, and we did it in an open, safe sharing and ethical way. And it accelerated the curve by, in some cases, you know, up to a year in some cases in terms of innovation. So we've shown what we can do if we do it in the right way. Let's address that, use all the what we've been talking about here in a very positive way, and address it to some of the other challenges of our time as well. And I'll say, I know we've got about 30 seconds. Look out for something called 365, visibility of role models in tech. It really is kind of shining a light on everything there about tech with her, for her, and by her.
That's great, Sally. That's great. And I saw actually our panelists nodding. They were all agreeing with what you were saying, which is great that we all agree. And that's why also we are then streaming this conference online so that also the audience can join this fight that we have started here to make women fully active participants of the tech sector. But I wanted to come back to you, Moon, because the third question, as you said, was what for, right? What women can do for society when they are in engineering positions. But looking at your biography and what you do nowadays and what you have done in the past, I noticed a very important job that you have carried out, which is being a business coach for underrepresented populations. And linking to what Sally was saying, it's very important that people from many different backgrounds and from many different starting points, as also Sabina mentioned, are included in the tech revolution. So when you're coaching these unrepresented populations to strive for more and to have success with their businesses, what challenges do you encounter and how do you actually empower them to succeed?
That's the tough question again.
Sorry, you're
but
getting
I
a
will
lot of
answer.
questions today.
But no, I like it. It's a great question. So I think what I found the biggest thing is my expectation, even though I lived in Western world for 18 years, what I thought the society would be in the Western world and what the reality is, the gap is so huge. And not until you get to the underrepresented people, you are not going to understand the situation. So here I am, after coming from business school, and you're just like always talking to all these MBAs and everything. And then you go back to these people, they barely can't even have a conversations with you. So it makes you very humble, but then it makes you realize, why are you here on this planet? So that moment you have to almost align yourself. That was my vision in life, which is go first, go positive, right? Which is ultimately coming back to our humanity of what we want to do. And I felt at that moment, sitting there on Thursday evening from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. every week in Toronto, that, you know what? I could be coaching a lot of people in fancy conferences and other entrepreneurial competition, but the biggest joy I'm getting is sitting here with these people that nobody wants to talk to, who actually go to food banks all the time. And those challenges were some of the great moments, because I felt over 6 weeks or 8 weeks when I coached them, from the very beginning, they started to learn how to use like a lean startup canvas to at the very end. They actually came out, they pitched their business idea, they won $5,000 and they actually started a business. So that was really, really beautiful. And the challenge, everyone.
Very much deserved, I have to say.
And I felt that, those moments were the best moment in my life, because the things that we give to people without expecting anything are the best things given, at the end of the day, because you feel like whatever you're doing, you can give to somebody. I've been very privileged in my life to be around people who probably don't need my services so much, but they're the one who needed. And going back to that questions, what it also taught me is the gap in our educational system, and that includes both men and both women. If I may interject one little things here, I think one of the reasons we always have to talk about women in tech and all of that is, again, that gap in narrative of how the education system is designed, how they make men think and how they make women think. And therefore you still go somewhere, and if you're a young lady and just are pretty, and even there's the founders conference and they think that you're an intern and you're not the founder, right? So I feel like I would put them into underprivileged category as well, because they're challenged, because they don't have the privilege, they did not have the privilege to be properly educated, to be properly taught how to approach people, how to approach women, even in 2022. Therefore we have to have this conversation. But I never hesitate to go and educate people when I see that there is a chance to do so.
Thank you so much, Mona. We need this education. Sabina, you wanted to react to that?
Yeah, I wanted to basically pick it up from there in a way, and kind of go a step further from education and family to, I also do a lot of mentoring of young women in tech. They always come and say, oh, who do I work for? And I'm like, oh, who should I work for? And, you know, you always have like a number of companies that come up when you think of technology, and, you know, everyone thinks of like some fancy offices somewhere. I'm like, you never work for the brand. Like, you know, you're not going to spend 40 hours a week staring at the logo. You're going to work with people. So probably the most important part of this kind of journey and you know, is basically, if you're going to go and work in a career in tech, is who's going to be your mentor? What are you going to learn? Who are the people you're going to interact with, and kind of looking for that empowering, inspiring, you know, boss, you know, if we still do hierarchies in tech. But what are basically, you know, what are the people and the relationships that you're going to build there, which is a lot more important than whatever, you know, tech company brand you can think of, because that's an office and that's a logo, is the culture that will make the difference. And someone said something, I mean, I really can't remember who, but someone said something about, you know, I think the quote goes, you know, jobs of the old days were about muscles, now they're about brains, and in the future they'll be about the heart. I think they already are about the heart. So it's a lot, you know, it's a lot about how you form people, how you form cultures, that will make so much more of a difference than whatever money you put on paper for that job. So, you know, I think the world is changing, and it's changing in a good direction. I would also say, though, that whenever we do have a crisis, women tend to be the biggest losers. So of that crisis, we've had that with COVID. We've actually had, you know, we have a lot of statistics about how basically that was a massive disadvantage for women. We'll have it again because of the economic downturn. And I think, you know, that's where for all of us working towards, you know, gender equality, it will be an even harder job, but an even more valuable job to continue to push for these values in times of crisis. So yeah, thanks.
Oh my God, thank you, Sabina. I was gonna ask you that same question, so thank you so much for replying in advance. But it's very true. It's very true what you say, and yes, we cannot forget that we work for people. That's it. Behind every brand, there are people, not just working there. There are also people that we are trying to serve, right? So that's one of the key priorities. And Delova, we have been talking a lot. Moon was just saying how important it is to give chances to women, to young women, to become what they want to become. And you're one young woman leader. You're also our sustainability champion, our first official sustainability champion. So I want to ask you, how do we achieve more sustainable, or hopefully a fully sustainable digital transition?
I think it's important to involve women at a very young age, and both have role models, but also have the support. I think that's one of the reasons why I am here today. Already at the age of 11, I was interested in technology, and I had parents who supported me and didn't point out that that was different compared to a lot of the girls in my class. And also getting opportunities like the European Leadership Academy, where you meet people from everywhere and can inspire each other and learn from each other. And what you were just saying earlier, Berta, it's not only about having engineers, it's also about having people within different areas as well, because what we need is diversity, and we need different opinions in order to reach a sustainable digital transition. Yeah.
That's amazing. And you're fully right. We need people from every single background, and I'm actually a winner of our Schools for Female Leadership in the Digital Age, the first future leader herself, Dalia Alic from Croatia. She comes from, well, she has experience in cybersecurity, but she comes from humanities, and she's actually a filmmaker. So one day she will win an Oscar, and then we will be very proud to have supported her in the earliest stages of her career. Before that, maybe she will also win, you know, like a Nobel Prize in something related to technology. But well, the opportunities are plenty in this world.
And also to add, I think it's very important that when you actually get women within tech, you have to keep them, because that's something that I'm seeing very often, and that I've noticed with a lot of my friends from university. They have started working for a technology firm, but they only work there for 1 year. And it's one thing employment with having like, oh, we're gonna have 50% women, but if they all leave within a year, it's no point. And this is also a very important part of the digital transition, that we actually make sure that we keep the women at the job.
You're fully right. And especially, I think Sabina will talk about that as well. But the gap is also when they become mothers. This is when it starts to get not so easy, right? And we will hear about this in the second panel, but Sabina.
Just very, very briefly touch upon that super important point. You know, I represent the UK technology sector, about 930 companies there. The average career length of a woman in tech in the UK is 7 years. That's it. It's not 20, it's not 30, it's not 40, it's 7 years. So there is a lot of work to be done about keeping them when they're young, but also making sure they do return to careers in tech after a career break for caring for relatives, kids, whatever it is. So I think, yeah, it's tragic. Like, it shouldn't be 7 years. It shouldn't be anywhere near 7 years.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. We miss you guys in the EU, but it's fine. We're still friends. So thank you for sharing that. Sally, we are gonna close the round of let's say, preliminary questions. And I want to ask you as well, because we have mentioned here cybersecurity as well. You yourself has mentioned cybersecurity, and it's very important. You are working now with SMEs. You are researching how cybersecurity can help SMEs get into the digital age and actually be safe and protect their business. So can you share with us something more about this?
Yeah, sure. And can I make a quick point on the sustainability one as well, if that's all right? Just because it gave a massive kind of area of alignment there. I think that for me, the biggest area to really improve that is around measurement. They say, don't they, measurement matters, but I think in ESG in particular, sustainability obviously being one part of that, it's a challenge to help make it scale at the moment. And a lot of companies like measure and put out an ESG report, which is fantastic and it's transparent and it moves things forward, but it's very hard to compare, you know, whether you're a consumer or an ecosystem partner or potential employee, whichever perspective you're taking, it's hard at the moment. So look out for something in kind of February, March of next year that brings some standardization into that, because it really directly just reflected what you were saying there. So I'll mention that very quickly. On the cybersecurity threat front, I think we've all experienced that, you know, whether it's our home life, our family or work or a combination thereof, the scale, the scope, the sophistication of threats is increasing. And we're even bringing threats back. So one example of that, and I call it the chameleon, is a threat called Emotet. And it's something that's been around for like 10 years, something like that. We kind of got rid of it. We found a way to address it, but then we've got more bad actors collaborating than ever before in cybersecurity. And it was that kind of formation that came together, reinvented it, reimagined it, brought it back. And it's now probably one of the most dangerous malware delivery systems we've ever had. So that just really shows we've got to be really on it. You know, looking at the research, the sharing of that, the coming together, the collaboration theme I mentioned earlier is super important for SMEs and SMBs in particular. We need to have this message, I think, that security is available to you at any size. And again, I think we see it a lot in technology. Sometimes there's perceptions or intention and action gaps. And a lot of organizations, particularly smaller ones, don't realize quite how much there is freely available to help facilitate change. And you don't have to do everything all at once. You know, you can incrementally innovate and there's support there available to you. So yeah, it's one of the, I'm head of a cyber think tank. So that's one of the areas we work in, and you literally take it from enterprise level right through to SME.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Sally. Thank you so much for sharing that. I must confess to our audience that we're running quite late and Sabina has to go to the airport. So
I would normally take a train, but good in any case.
So you might excuse me if I do this. I think if you agree, we don't take questions during this time, and you can just address the panelists during the coffee break that we're going to have right now. But I promise you that we will have an open floor for questions in the second panel and also in the session in between. So to wrap up, there is a very famous journalist in Spain who hosts this kind of debates. And, you know, when he's trying to wrap up, he doesn't say, okay, 1 minute or whatever, because no one does 1 minute, right? So what he usually says is like, give me one headline only, and it can only be a headline. So there we go. So our dear speakers today, Sabina, one headline.
We really need to look after each other in the coming years. It's gonna be really tough from a lot of different points of view, and we really need to look out for each other.
I love that you say that, because as you said, tech increasingly and the tech revolution has to have a heart. It has a heart, but that heart needs to be even more visible. So thank you so much. Eloba, one headline.
In the future, I don't want it to be a woman in tech. I want it to be a leader in tech, that there is no difference between men and women.
And you're already a leader, so congratulations on that. Thank you. Moon, one headline.
When an opportunity comes knocking on the door, please, please, please say yes and take risk even when it doesn't make any sense.
And if it doesn't open, if it doesn't come to the door, you open the window and you grab it. It's also very important. Yes, thank you. And Sally, final headline for today.
I'll go for skills, kind of culture and mindset. So one, don't just be a mentor, be an active sponsor for other people as well. Help put people forward for opportunities and invest in yourself and others. So we talk about STEM a lot in terms of skills. Go beyond that, look at STEAM. So the arts in its broader sense, expression, emotional intelligence, confidence, ability to relate to others, to problem solve. Invest in that. So we don't just talk about agile organizations, we talk about agile people, agile teams, and we can really be far more ambidextrous as change and confident to apply it too. So invest in that, and there's some scholarships on that nature available too. So if anybody knows someone about that, feel free to get in touch.
Thank you so much, Sally. So our women leaders today, yes, almost have shown how women can change the game today. Thank you so much. Thank you. It has been wonderful. Just before you stand up 1 second, I need our colleague Colin to come to the stage just 1 second, because women in tech are a reality and will be increasingly a reality because we have male allies. This is very important. And my dear colleague Colin, together with our colleague Annie as well, having the mind and the heart behind this event. So Colin.
Okay, thank you everybody. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who actually attended this meeting today, the summit or the carnival, like Annie was saying. And I really like what Sally just said. She talked about the mentorships, which is really important. It's kind of funny for a man who's hosting this kind of women in tech events and campaigns in Huawei, in a very tech savvy company, which is in stereotype, we believe that's male dominant, still at this stage. I still remember the first day I joined Huawei, my mentor, who was Joanna Ma, and she's working for a different department now. But back when I joined, I asked her what program she was running, and she was my mentor. And she said the key program she really wanted to establish and to promote and to make it really happen, to make an impact, is women in tech. And I asked her, do you think that I'm the right person to inherit that program from you? And she was very open about this. She said that it's not just about separating women from men. It's about being inclusive. It's about being diversified, to include everybody into this pursuit to make women in tech a really important issue, to bring it out to the society, to make it matter. And I would really want to thank Joanna Ma in this occasion, and also to make something happen, to just to thank her. I also prepared some gifts for all of you, which are the t-shirt and the canvas bag on the table in front of you. And I would really hope that you can, I think a really important thing about this Women in Tech project is that we can include as many perspectives as possible to add them into our lives, add them into our narratives. So I would like you, if you would like to paint anything you would like, to use any color that you would like to use onto those canvas bags. And you can either keep it if you really like your own paintings, or you can gift it after your creation to the person who's right next to you. And I hope that will be an interesting event for you to have today.
Thank you, Colin. Bring color into your life and care for each other. Thank you so much. That's it. Let's take a break. And Sabina, have a safe flight.
There we go.
Oh, sorry, I was chit-chatting, and it turns out that we are restarting, which is great. And thank you so much to our wonderful audience for taking their seats again. You will notice that now I am not bringing any speakers cards, because the next speakers that I'm going to introduce are very good friends, and I had the pleasure of being with them just last week in Iceland, and actually also 2 weeks ago in Spain. Just before they join us online, I want to basically bring a disclaimer, which is we are gonna talk about gender-based violence. Okay, so this is a very hard topic. This is a reality for many women worldwide, sadly. and we are gonna talk with two survivors. So as I said, this is not necessarily for everyone. It doesn't have to be. So if any of you feels, affected or needs just a break, please feel free to take it. The door is open, and certainly if you're feeling unwell, do not stay in. I have the pleasure also to say that one of the members of our audience is one of our mentors in the school, Emina. So if you need to talk to someone, also feel free to approach her. And of course, we will be available also after the event. Just don't stay in the room if you feel uneasy. Okay, that was all. So having said that, we are gonna welcome the co-founders of the Lilia app. This is an app against gender-based violence. They are not only the co-founders, Ardis Ruth and Inga Henriksen from Iceland, they are also the winners of the Huawei Iceland Women in Tech Innovators Incubator that took place in May this year still, organized by my wonderful colleague Beatriz Garcia, who is a real role model and is changing the game. So Ardis and Inga, welcome to join us. Where are you? Yes, I see you there. Hey, yeah, great to see you. I just have to say, guys, so I give you 10 minutes to present Lilia, and then we open the floor for questions, if that's okay, right? So please go ahead and everyone enjoy the time with the Lilia co-founders. Thank you.
Hi, we're just wondering if our PowerPoint show is on display.
Just a second, let's see. It will be very soon, hopefully. Let's do some magic. Show the PowerPoint. It's gonna happen. By the way, while it happens, yes, we're almost there. I must tell you guys that if you have the chance to ever in life visit Iceland, please do so, because you will not only meet wonderful women such as Ardis and Inga and my colleague Beatriz, you will also see one of the most amazing countries in the world. And unfortunately, they don't pay me for this, but I do recommend it. You will see volcanoes, you will see lagoons, you will see glaciers, and it's fantastic. And you will get really, I think, committed to fighting climate change and to protecting the beautiful wonders of our world. And they do have the best tap water ever. So having said that, guys, please start telling the Icelandic authorities that I am one of their tourist board members, okay?
Will
but
do.
that's okay. Go ahead. Your presentation is gonna show very, very quickly. Is
Okay.
it? Or share your screen. That's even easier. Imagine the magic.
Can we share our screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything is possible. There we go. Okay, we have you there. Okay, please start.
All right. We are Lilia. My name is Inga Henriksen, and this is Ardis Yonath. We are presenting for you Lilia, the savior for victims of domestic and sexual abuse. Yeah. Like Maya Angelou once said, there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. And every story should be heard. So we want to start this off by Inga sharing her story. When I was 14 years old, I was walking home from a choir practice. It was getting a bit dark. And on my way, I was stopped by a car full of men asking me if I wanted to ride home. I politely rejected that offer and just kept on walking. 2 seconds later, someone grabbed my hair and I was dragged into the car of my car. I fought with my claws, I screamed, I fought for my life, basically. The drive over to the house was the longest row I've ever driven. I thought it was endless. Same with the stairs up to the apartment. And this night, I had the same song on replay over and over again in my head just to survive. 2016 I met a man through Tinder. My friend also knew him, so I gave him a chance. He was not the kind of guy I would go for. He was a bit short, I liked them tall, but he was charming. There were many red flags that I just ignored, hoping that it was just me making a fuss about something that wasn't fussable, you know. In 2020, after being isolated in Sweden, there was an incident that we nearly survived. So this is why this is so personal to us. So here we have a picture of us, a little bit about ourselves. I'm a Master of Law from Bifröst University, and I worked as a rights protection officer for disabled people here in Iceland and legal system to victims of domestic and sexual abuse. And me, I'm also a survivor of domestic abuse. So this is very close to heart. I'm a student in social work my last year. I volunteer work with victims of domestic and sexual abuse and have been doing that the last years. I'm also a survivor of domestic abuse, and I'm a consultant at the research with children with attachment disorders after violence and abuse. 6 women are killed every hour worldwide. That means 144 women daily, 52,560 women per year. 150 million girls worldwide are raped or subjected to sexual abuse each year, usually by someone in their family circle. These numbers are far higher because, like we know, not everything is reported. Violence is also a global pandemic, and that is something that we should all agree on. 1 of every 3 women worldwide have been subjected to domestic and sexual abuse. The legal framework does not support victims of abuse. Our body is seen as crime scene in cases we are not allowed to participate in. We need more specialized and specific help for victims of abuse. And we need systems and operation that speak to each other. The purpose of Lilia is to help victims of sexual assault and victims of domestic violence to break out of a cycle of abuse, decrease the social and economic impact of domestic and sexual abuse in societies, provide statistics and information for research, and create other proactive solutions to prevent domestic and sexual abuse. That is our greatest aim, to bring knowledge and to bring systems together so we can all work at one purpose only, and that is to be the best system that can provide help to victims of abuse. Market and users, of course, the victims of sexual and domestic abuse, government organizations, NGOs and research institutes, for example, universities. And that is what we are aiming for, that this will help us understand better and the phenomenon of violence. Yeah, so we can do researches. Inside Lilia, you will find a diary where you can put in incidents like photo, audio file, or reflect your own feelings. The data goes straight into encrypted database stored at 112 or emergency services in each country. That will help the data being used in cases in court if needed. They also has this amazing chameleon fetus. In other apps or behind them, or go totally incognito. So the app is there, but it can hide inside other apps or behind them, which makes the use of the app even more secure for the users, and it will prevent the perpetrator to get into the app. If that would happen, it would be hard for them to find it. It would be hard for them to find any information in the app, because all the information that are logged into the app goes straight to this secure folder at the emergency services, which is encrypted and locked for people to get in. The failure is also triggered by predetermined words, shaking or the phone falling down to the floor. Without lighting up the sky, it will call emergency services with the message, just listen, don't speak. This is the way, well, a very raw look on how Lilia is going to look. It gives the user two types of, well, this is based on the Icelandic, well, registration protocol. So you can log in with an email, or you can log in with your personal secure number. And this would just be like made special for each and every country that would use our solution. Then we have the registration. We would not need much information, because this is only for like data purposes. And there will be email, name, maybe social security number, so we can link the information to other sources. For example, the hospitals and police and other, so we can collect as many data as we can possibly use to help the victims. And then we come to the screen where you can choose your icon and the way you want it to call into the emergency services. Very basic, very simple, because we want everybody to be able to use this. And here we have the raw look on how we want this app to look. This is just based on, like people know, like the period tracker, a circle of abuse is kind of the same. So we wanted to have a pure look. So the app can also calculate the incidents and the seriousness of incidents and code it in colors. So the only visible thing in the phone would be in the diary would be like the dates with colored incidents, but not the incidents itself. So it will take out all the information and put it in the secured folder, like we said earlier. So if so unfortunately the perpetrator would get into the app, there would be nothing for him to see or her. It would only be color-coded, like dots that have no information for them to look into. So all the information about incidents or other would have left the phone. So this is only a one-sided database. So you can see the star on the screen here with the Lilia. It's the quick, safe way to exit the app if needed in circumstances that you can be, someone will walk in on you while you're using the app. And everything that you do with the app, the phone calls to emergency services, diary entries and other things, leaves no tracks. So it's supposed to be as safe as it could be. And then we don't have anything more for you to look at. Just this beautiful picture of us, our information, and hope that this explained something for you about our app. Unfortunately, we couldn't be there. We wish we would have. We would have loved to met you all and spoken to you. But if anybody has any questions, we are here to answer them.
Thank you, Ardis. Thank you, Inga. It's very hard what you have to say, but you have a big round of applause here in Vienna. Thank you so much. We have still Inga and Ardis, I hope.
Yeah,
can we
here.
Yes, there you are. No, you are just not in our screens, but you will be very, very soon. And I wanted to open the floor for questions or comments or suggestions, because Lilia is not just the app that you have created. Lilia is a survival tool that women worldwide can benefit from. So from our audience, do we have any questions, comments, suggestions to Inga and Ardis? Yes, we do have one. I put her through. Moon.
Thank you for creating this tool. I think worldwide, just not women, even a lot of men and boys, they need that.
Wait, 1 second, 1 second. Elena, my dear colleague Elena from Huawei Spain, please turn off your microphone. Thank you so much. Gracias, Moon. Go ahead.
My question for you is, are you just planning to launch this app initially in the European market, or are you also thinking about like launching it in the other parts like Asian countries as well? And if not yet, if you need some help to get there or work with some of the government or NGO organizations, definitely feel free to reach out.
Our initial plan was to launch it wherever they want us. I mean, this is something, like we said, is a global pandemic, and we hope that every country wants some part of Lilia. And we hope that that is our main goal. And like it looks like right now that we will start in Europe and in Iceland, hopefully, and scale back from there. Yeah, but hopefully we can do this as soon as possible, and we would love some help to reach the markets. So because we can always, like we say in Iceland, we can always add flowers to a bouquet. We would always love some help and more people around us.
That's great. Thank you, Inga. And Ardis, Moon is actually a business coach, and she has been revolutionizing, well, social impact worldwide. So feel free to stay in touch, please. This is the kind of connections that we need. Let's see. Do we have any other questions, comments, suggestions for the founders of Lilia? They're in the audience. Okay, seeing none, I would encourage you to indeed follow their steps, stay in touch, certainly. And Ardis, Inga, please join us next time. We are committed to supporting Lilia, and you are our hope. So thank you so much, and enjoy your volcanoes.
And our polar bears.
Oh God. Bye-bye. Goodbye. Thank you. All right. So we have heard a part that is not easy to talk about, but it's very good. And I think it speaks and it says a lot that Huawei is being able to bring this into the spotlight, to bring this as a topic of discussion, because it should not be a taboo. It exists. Women are killed in large numbers, unfortunately. I was just seeing the statistics in my phone right before this conference from a Portuguese newspaper. And it says that since the start of the year in Portugal, 28 women have been killed by their partners. So this is a global pandemic that we need to end, hopefully very soon. But speaking of women's well-being, I also want to introduce you to our next speaker. Her name is Emily Han, and she's the CEO of FizzyMed. Emmeline is revolutionizing women's health and well-being with her innovations, and I think it will be very inspiring to hear from her. Emmeline, are you there? Yes, there you go. Thank you.
I'm here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invitation. I would have loved to be with you today, but unfortunately, I couldn't join. I'm based in France, in Strasbourg, and I'm going to present you what we are doing at FizzyMed and how we can try to change women's life, or at least help them to avoid some public health issues. I'm going to share my screen. I think it is. You see my screen? Yeah, I think so. Okay. So during this 5 minutes, I'm going to talk about EMI. EMI is the product that we have developed at FizzyMed. We created the company 5 years ago based on a simple figures that 1 out of 10 women is suffering of urinary incontinence. And urinary incontinence is often linked to this muscle here, which is the pelvic floor, which is not strengthened enough. And when a woman sneeze or jump or run, she can have urinary leaks. So we need to basically do some musculation or some training of this muscle. So these women are suffering of that after childbirth, but also while they practice sports. It is also important to have a strong pelvic floor to improve sex life and to avoid prolapse. So we developed this product. This product is EMI. It's a medical device connected to a smartphone application. So I have it here. And there is one part in the vagina and this part is out. And there are sensors all over this part inside. And when a woman squeezes the pelvic floor, there are sensors here that send a signal to the smartphone. And for example, when I squeeze the pelvic floor, these little people in the app jump. So you can really see in real time what you are doing. With funny games that are validated by healthcare professionals, you can train your pelvic floor and you can stay motivated. So we worked a lot with healthcare professional and we did a clinical trial. We proved that using our device, you can have results after 3 weeks of using EMI. And it's wonderful how we can receive message every day from women saying like, thanks, you just changed my life. And I don't have any more urinary leaks or my prolapse reduced a lot or things like this. So the app is like this. So we have like 32 games in the app, and it is really linked to healthcare to medical protocol, validated protocol, and you can follow your progress in the app according to your progress when you train. So basically you insert EMI in the vagina, you connect the device to the app, you do your Kegel exercise and you track your progress. It's not more complicated than that. And it is like 5 to 15 minutes per session, 1 to 5 times a week, depending on the problem of a woman. So it's really simple and it can change lives. It's the first wireless Kegel trainer clinically tested. It's important to say because now in the woman and the femtech and women health, we are really at the border between wellness and medical device, and are we, or do we need to clinically test everything? Sometimes it's a question that many companies are asking. For us, it was really important from the beginning that our device was really in the medtech industry, so CE marked and FDA approved and clinically tested and so on. We worked a lot with healthcare professionals, gynecologists, midwives, and also we have a long-term use product because it is rechargeable. It was important for us to also develop a product, an electronic product that can be used for a long time. We know how electronic device can have an impact on the environment and everything. So it was important that when the battery just off or just empty, we don't just throw away the product. We have a lot of testimonials telling us that they have good results, like I'm physiologist and I did my postpartum recovery with EMI. I highly recommend it to my patient. finally I can go to do sport again without thinking about urinary incontinence. And we started to sell this product 3 years ago in France, but we are now in all across Europe. We started also in Asia, in United States, yeah, and we have some testimonial from all over the world, which is really encouraging, I would say. Yeah, so it was all for me. It was pretty quick, but thank you again for the Huawei to have this opportunity. Actually, I met some people from Huawei 2 weeks ago because we won a prize of contest, Digital Impulse. It was a contest organized by Huawei a few weeks ago, and we had the chance to have to have the first prize in the town of Strasbourg in France. So thanks again for that and for the invitation today.
Thank you so much, Emily. Thank you so much for being with us today and for speaking about, as you said, something that should not be a taboo and should not be a taboo anymore. We women need specific health applications, and you are revolutionizing our health with that. So thank you, and see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Wait. Okay. Because there is so much passion to interact with you, I have to open the floor for this question.
I have a question, and I couldn't help myself because, first of all, I have 2 children now. They're in their 20s, and they were both born in Strasbourg. So, you know, there you go. My question is this a product that is really democratizing access to something that exists? At least I know in France it exists, you know, at the health practitioners. And one could go and visit and get this treatment. But the fact, you know, of having it at home and having it everywhere, obviously, is a huge, I would say, democratization of access. And I imagine that it's a question of price, what you're offering.
Yeah, it's a big challenge to educate also. Depending on the country, the challenge is different. As you said, in France, it is really well known as a midwife and a physiotherapist to help women with pelvic floor therapy, and it is reimbursed also. So in France, we will be really in a B2C approach. It costs 199 euros. So it's an investment, I would say. But as it is a medical device and it really improves women's lives, we had the chance to have good results for penetrating the market. But still, we would like it to be more democratized and to be. We would like to address more women that cannot sometimes afford that. And we started with Germany. In Germany, the product is 100% reimbursed. So when it is prescribed by a gynecologist or urologist, it can be reimbursed totally. So it's we started in a B2C, and we try to develop the model to offer this solution to most of women. Again.
Just not to spoil it, are there any other questions or suggestions, comments to Emmeline? Is that all right? Yes, thank you so much for your contribution. Emmeline, merci beaucoup. I think with that, we need to close for today, only for today, but we will see you very soon, I hope. Good luck.
Okay, thank you very much.
Stay well.
Bye.
All right, thank you so much for this participatory presentation as well. And I'm very happy to welcome a guest who is actually with us today in person. Yes. Her name is Sofia Tsiatsigiani. I hope I said it correctly. Probably not, so she'll say it herself later. I need to go to Greece a bit more, you see. I need to practice my Greek. It's coming. She's an assistant program specialist at UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning, and she's going to enlighten us with her presentation. Please, Sofia, join us. Thank you.
Thanks, Berta. Thanks a lot. Thanks for this invitation. It's really a pleasure to be with you here and to learn from all the work you are doing. As Berta says, my name is Sofia Hadjiani. I'm an assistant program specialist in the Quality Learning Ecosystems program at the UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning. One of the core areas of our work is to promote literacy for youth and adults. So basically, we help countries, we support the countries to improve the quality provision in their, at the national level. And in this context, I will present to you today the Global Alliance for Literacy within the framework of lifelong learning is the full name. We call it GAL. But I will start first with the definition of literacy. UNESCO, since its establishment, has been advocating for literacy as an integral part to education and the foundation for lifelong learning for all. In the very early stages, literacy started as to be only the ability to read and write, which is still the case for many countries. But all over across the years, this notion of the literacy has been expanded, and now it includes a broader set of complex skills. Here you see the definition according to UNESCO, adopted in 2015, giving a definition to the literacy, not only to the ability to read and write, it goes beyond the ability to read and write. It's also to identify, to understand, to interpret, to create, to communicate effectively, and to give a meaning in a world which is digital and rich information and fast changing. It is very important to highlight here that literacy is essential for people because it builds the skills and the knowledge and empowers them, make them strong and able to participate in the wider society and to cope with the complexities of life, as well as all the challenges that they face throughout their life. Let's have a look at some data now. The literacy rates have been improved the 50 past years. But despite the progress made and all the efforts that the member states have made, still we can see 763 million youth and adults lacking basic literacy and numeracy skills. And unfortunately, the 2/3 of this population are women. And this we see in countries basically in Northern Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, Southern and Western Asia, as well as Arab states. This gender divide, unfortunately, exists also in other areas related to literacy. When it comes to the use of technologies and also to access to the internet, we see that it remains the same. For example, in low and middle income countries in 2021, where in these countries the mobile phone is the main way to access the internet and to access the technologies as well, 60% of women do use the mobile internet, which is a good figure, but still 16% less than men. Still we see, you see the figure on the screen, there are fewer than men. And then the main reason for that is that this population lacks basic digital and literacy skills. Now I will tell you a few things and present you the GAL, the Global Alliance for Literacy. UNESCO launched GAL in 2016, at that time to support the countries to improve, as I said before, the quality of the literacy provision. It started as a support to the countries with the very literacy low rates and with the countries that have the biggest global population. At the moment, just to say here that at that time, the countries which joined the alliance, most of them had 50% literacy rates, which means that 50% of the population of youth and adults could not read and write. At the moment, the platform is a platform of 30 countries, which are strongly committed to this work, and they do their best to improve youth and adult literacy. We, the UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning, acts as the GAL Secretariat, which means that we coordinate this work. And each country is represented in the alliance through a focal point. It's really important to say that GAL as an alliance, as a global network, advocates for literacy, emphasizes on the importance of literacy, and advocates for that with all our means. Here you can see these 3 GAL member countries. Most of them are allocated in Africa, as you see, and in Southern Asia. For further information, I will invite you to visit our website and see where we have developed the country profiles. Here, the profiles provide information about the magnitude of the literacy challenges that these countries face in relation to other perspectives and other actors, such as the economic development, the budget that is allocated to education and to literacy in specific. Here is an illustrative example for you to see some information from Comoros, one of the 30 countries. The work of the Alliance is quite complex and difficult. So GAI decided and introduced the associate membership. The associate membership is open to international and national organizations, other agencies, universities, as well as private sector. It's really important to bring more partners in this, in the work of the Alliance. And most of these associate members have already started to contribute to this work. We have already worked with the Commonwealth of Learning, the University of East Anglia, and other partners, as you can see in the screen. The associate membership was introduced in 2020, and we really believe that strong partnerships can help the countries individually to strengthen their literacy efforts. Another key feature of the Alliance is that every year we, as the GAL Secretariat, organize general meetings, and we gather all the GAL member countries, the associate members, as well as other partners, to share their experiences, their challenges, and also to propose ideas, new ideas, and give solutions to literacy problems. The Alliance, in order to have a guidance to their work, adopted in 2020 the GAL strategy. The GAL strategy is aligned with the general UNESCO literacy strategy for youth and adults. Here you can see that the strategy is based on 5 strategic goals. The first goal is on policy and planning, which aims to help the countries, to assist the countries to improve their national literacy strategies, policies, and programs. The second one is on equity, with the aim to improve the quality of the literacy interventions, especially for women and other disadvantaged populations. The third one is on innovation, with the aim to support countries to increase the use of technologies, with the aim to improve also the access to technology, but also the quality of the literacy interventions. The fourth one is on data, and countries are encouraged to gather quality data and to monitor the progress of the youth and adult literacy at the national level, which is quite important. And the fifth one is on partnership. Strong partnerships are really needed. We really need strong partnerships and strong partners to be involved and committed to the work of the Alliance. One of the major activities that is running now is one of the major activities of GAL is the initiative on improving the digital competencies of literacy educators. This initiative emerged during the pandemic, where all the programs were stopped and the literacy educators had to find solutions to continue the literacy provision. And at that time, they could not do it. I mean, their skills were found inadequate because they were not trained and they did not have enough digital skills to continue the education provision remotely. The aim of this initiative is to target, to train 100,000 literacy educators in the effective use of technologies in literacy, teaching, and learning. The scope is to engage at least 10 GAL countries of the Alliance with their overall objective to promote quality literacy provision by building this capacity, to build the capacity of literacy educators. As you see, and in relation to what I said before about the strategic goals, this initiative responds to 3 of the strategic goals. The first one is on innovation, because it includes the technology, partnership, because we bring on board partners to support this initiative, and equity. It's important to say here that the majority of the literacy educators are women, and the majority of the participants of the literacy programs is also women. So how are we training? How are we training the literacy educators? We developed a training package which consists of three training modules. The first one is on technologies for literacy education. With that, educators are introduced to basic technological concepts and understand how different and several technologies can be used in the literacy education. The second one is on integrating technologies into literacy education. And there, the educators who take this training practically apply their knowledge and integrate their knowledge into the literacy instruction. And the third one, the third module, technologies for continuous professional development. It's about to bring the educators to understand and also to critically and to creatively use the technological resources for their professional development. The training is hosted on our platform, the UIL Learning Hub, and we're glad to cooperate with Moodle, which contributed to the course design. The main features of this training is that the training is accessible, is flexible, and adaptable. Learners from any place of the world can download all the training packets, all the learning materials, and the training can be offered in one go in a short period or in smaller parts in an extended period. It can be delivered online and offline, and the whole packets can be, as I said before, downloaded. It is at the moment available in English, but it will be translated into national and local languages. At the moment, we are working with 4 implementing countries. We're working with Cote d'Ivoire, with Nigeria, with Egypt and Bangladesh, and we support them. We provide technical support to contextualize and to adapt the training modules into their context. As I said before, and I mentioned the GAL strategy, the main priority of GAL is the implementation of the strategy. And in line with this, we're planning to organize next year thematic webinars on specific topics such as on skills-based literacy, skills assessment, financial literacy, media and information literacy, digital skills, and others. The aim of these webinars is to bring once again the GAL members there, but also for them to increase the policy sharing opportunities. The participants will present good practices and also challenges and propose ideas and new solutions. And that we're planning to coordinate, to organize with partners like associate members and bring also experts from several fields and several areas from other networks. Also from one network that UIL is also leading, the UNESCO Global Network of Learning Cities. And to make it short, to sum up, GAL is an active platform which provides innovative and effective solutions to improve the lives of millions of people who live in the countries which are affected the most by these literacy challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sophia. Stay with me for a second because now I feel that I need to ask the audience if they want to tell you something. So does anyone have any comments or questions or suggestions to Sophia? Not yet. This doesn't mean that you will not have them later. Exactly. Thank you so much, Sophia. It was wonderful to have you.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you. All right. So to our next speaker now, she's a bit far, but you're going to see an amazing video of what she has done. Her name is Esther. I hope I will say it at least mildly correctly. Esther Awaiwewa Abankawa from Ghana. She's the Huawei ICT competition winner, Women in Tech Award, and she is developing a solution to determine water quality and safety of drinking water in Africa. As we say, tech can change lives, can improve lives for the better, and the example of Esther is clear on this. So let's watch her video.
My name is Esther Abankawa. I graduated the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology this year with a computer science degree, and I currently work at the software department at Huawei, Ghana. My initial interest in tech was after about a year reading computer science in school. And even though I didn't love it in the beginning, I believe that pursuing it is one of the best decisions I ever made. It's not been an easy journey because I remember that right at the start, a senior came to my class some few weeks after I had started the program, and then he made some very discouraging comments. One of the things he said was, a lot of you are going to leave, especially the females. The pressure will be too much for you, and at the end of the year, half of you would be gone. And this was a class of 300 students with less than 10% being female. It was quite discouraging, and personally, because I didn't know about my passion for tech yet, it was difficult for me. But thankfully, I found my footing after getting into the Huawei Seeds for the Future program. And I think it's been the cornerstone of my entire tech career, even up till now. After a series of opportunities because of the Huawei Seeds for the Future program, I also got the chance to partake in the Huawei ICT competition, where my team and I won second prize in the Women in Tech Award as well. Even during the competition, there were lots of comments that were discouraging. We had people asking us if we would be able to be up to task, if we could develop the application, build the software, if we had the skills. It was a male-dominated industry, so why wasn't there a male part of the team, and why were we just 3 females? Basically, it was like our competence was being undermined, and it was merely because of the fact that we were women. But we didn't listen to them, and with support from Huawei, our family and friends, we were able to come up with an innovative AI solution that was supposed to solve one of the SDG goals, which is clean water and sanitation. And I think that a lot of women don't get the chance to blossom and make it as far as we did, because right from the start, like me, their confidence is broken and they are made to shelve themselves even when they have the necessary skills, because they are being looked down upon by virtue of the fact that they are women. And so I think the social gender stereotype is so bad, and women are continuously being questioned about their skills. Sometimes we are made to feel ashamed when we try to prioritize our careers a little bit over family, because women are seen to be home managers most of the time. Even though things are being done currently to make sure that girls get interested in STEM-related courses nowadays, I still believe there is underrepresentation of females in the tech community. And because of this, women's perspectives and ideas are usually overlooked in the design of products that shape our daily lives. Meanwhile, there's been a research that most of the tech firms that have very little female inclusion tend to profit less. So I believe that including women in tech would actually help and produce growth in the industry and also yield more profits. I also believe that women have a very unique way and diverse way of thinking, and so taking the ideas of women into account and building more women tech leaders would help create a better and equal future for everyone. I think that the tech revolution, one way or the other, aims to promote, to make impact, even while producing solutions. And impact cannot be made if only one gender is continuously being taken into account. And so there's a need for women to be considered in tech. With this, I would say that women have so much to offer. And if we are given the opportunity, together with the males, we can create a better world. Cheers to all the women in tech.
Big round of applause to Esther from Ghana. I think it's really special that our company Huawei is empowering so many amazing women worldwide, and men, of course, as well. And this is exactly what we want to talk about now. We want to talk about groundbreaking solutions from all over the world, but not only. We also are going to talk right now about how we can turn innovation into action for a better world. And in preparation for our panel discussion, I would like to welcome a very distinguished speaker we have with us today for the opening speech to this panel. His name is Harvey Jodin. I hope that you already had the chance to exchange with him. And he's a senior fellow at the Center for China and Globalization, as well as a former advisor to US President Jimmy Carter. So Harvey, if you would be able to join us in stage. Thank you. Big applause.
Distinguished or extinguished?
Oh, well, you can choose. I said distinguished, but it's up to you.
It's been a great afternoon so far, and very happy to have met many of you and to spend 15 minutes talking to you about this very important subject. And sorry, I've put my ideas in here. They came from here, they went in here, and they're coming out here. So I hope that they give you some food for thought, and I'll look forward to any comments later. So it's really a great honor for me and for my wife, Yuling, to be invited to the Huawei Women in Tech Conference, because Huawei, it's one of the most progressive companies globally. And because, as China's Chairman Mao famously said, women hold up half the sky. The truth is that women like my wife and some of you hold up more than half the sky, balancing responsibilities at home and in the workplace. Companies like Huawei, with its progressive policies, help their workers and those like many of you who interact with them to one day actually make Mao's statement come to fruition. If truth be told, I don't much like this panel's topic too much, as it's too optimistic. I'd prefer if it said, turning innovation into action so that we can still have a world at all to make better. Now that the planet is more or less 8 billion people, we have our work cut out for us. The great Swiss scientist Albert Einstein was once asked, what weapons would be used in World War III? He was stumped. He said he didn't know. But he did say that he knew that World War IV would be fought with sticks and stones. You know what? I think that he was overly optimistic. Einstein, in fact, helped to found the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists and launched their doomsday clock in 1947, which assesses how close our world is to self-destruction from nuclear weapons and from other causes. The original setting was 7 minutes to midnight, but the last 3 years, it's been set at a mere 100 seconds. And when the clock is reset in 2 months, I predict it will be set at 1 minute or 45 seconds, given President Putin's special military operation in Ukraine and the inability of the global leadership, which includes preciously few women leaders, there to halt and reverse climate changes. So it's left to your younger generation to reverse the damage my generation and previous ones have caused, and to reset the clock away from doomsday or face the existential consequences. I'm very happy that Presidents Biden and Xi met on Monday in Bali. Relations between the US and China have gone from bad to worse, to frightening. The two leaders took a step back from the abyss and agreed to resume discussions on the environment, public health, food scarcity, and military issues, among others. These are the most critical issues of our time that must be addressed immediately, and of which you, working in tech fields or not, must be part of the solution. If not, you're only going to be part of the problem. The Nobel Prize laureate in medicine in the year 2000, Eric Kandel, describes the Vienna of his youth as intellectually vibrant and one of the global cultural capitals. Indeed, Vienna is an incredibly creative city and has long been so as the capital of music and culture from the centuries-long Austro-Hungarian Empire to this very day. But its creativity has also extended to science and to commerce. We can look to Dr. Kandel, as well as his fellow Nobel laureates, in addition to two other of Vienna's favorite sons, Peter Drucker and Joseph Schumpeter, all three of whom escaped Nazi tyranny. And we can look to them for inspiration and guidance in answering this panel's topic. And we can look to Huawei to see how innovation can be successfully channeled into creativity and into productivity. Peter Drucker, whose forum is held in Vienna annually on his birthday, was one of the most profound and humane management gurus of our time. You probably know that Drucker famously said that the best way to predict the future is to create it. It's a corollary of the old saying that heaven helps those who help themselves. He also said that the entrepreneur always searches for change, responds to it, and exploits it as an opportunity. Yes, change can be frightening, but it's a key to success and to survival itself. Those who can recognize change early can analyze it and can see how the new needs that are created from change represent fresh opportunities to be seized. Drucker said, don't solve problems, instead pursue opportunities. When you pursue opportunities as individuals or as companies like Huawei's have, the entire competitive environment can be upended. You can turn your previous problems into pathways to a new business strategy and into success. Drucker believed that business leaders need to double down on the spirit of performance by displaying high levels of moral and ethical integrity in their actions, focusing on results, empowering workers, going beyond financial obligation to shareholders, and ultimately serving the common good. Drucker was an early proponent of corporate social responsibility, which included being environmentally conscious, establishing policies of comprehensive diversity, equity, and inclusiveness in the workplace, treating employees with respect, promoting volunteering and charitable initiatives, and also ensuring ethical business decisions. Joseph Schumpeter was the economic wunderkind of his age a century ago. Schumpeter offered a new, unique insight into how economies grow, sharply breaking from traditional economic theories of his day. Schumpeter posited that economic progress is not gradual and peaceful, but rather disjointed, abrupt, and unpleasant. He coined the term creative destruction to describe the dismantling of long-standing practices in order to make way for new technologies, methods of production, and distribution. Schumpeter saw capitalism as an ongoing revolution disrupting the current social and economic hierarchy. And within this system, according to him, the entrepreneur became the revolutionary. And that person would be upsetting the established order to create dynamic change. Schumpeter introduced the economic significance of entrepreneurship. He used the German word Unternehmergeist, or entrepreneur spirit, saying that these individuals control the economy because they're responsible for delivering innovation and technological change. Entrepreneurs are often the guiding force behind creative, destructive because they advance new products, technology, and or production methods that provide an impulse for change. And experimentation constantly destroys the status quo and introduces new equilibria, making possible higher standards of living. Schumpeter also believed that for him, what wasn't important were all the books and theories for which he was famous, but how he made contributions to society, especially training others to follow in his footsteps. He once told a story of his teacher who asked Schumpeter and his fellow teenage students what their legacy was going to be. None of them could answer the question. The teacher said, "Oh, well, that's okay." But if they couldn't answer it by the time that they were 50, it was too late. So, my friends, what's your legacy to be? What do you want written on your tombstone? And speaking of creativity and making a better world, since we heard from a Nobel Prize winner earlier, let's look at what are some traits laureates seem to share in terms of creativity and innovation. Nobel laureates don't work to live, but they live to work. As an early winner said, without passion, there's no genius. You have to love what you do if you are to achieve the ultimate success. The famous Nobel physicist Richard Feynman said that you should work hard to find something that fascinates you, and only when and if you find it, you will know your life's work. Echoing Drucker and Schumpeter, Bruce Butler, Nobel Prize winner for medicine in 2011, said that it's important to take risks and not to be content with the limits of your field's knowledge. He advised, don't set out to make incremental advances, but to not be timid or conservative, but to choose a problem you'd be very proud to solve. His guidance reminds me of the work of China's Dr. Tu Yao. She turned to Chinese medical texts from the Zhou, Qing, and Han dynasty to find a cure for malaria, ultimately extracting a compound, artemisinin, when she isolated the ingredient she believed would work. She herself volunteered to be the first human subject. She's the first mainland Chinese scientist to have received a Nobel Prize in a scientific category. And she did so without a doctorate, without a medical degree, or even without training abroad. Under her guidance, her team reviewed ancient medical texts to understand traditional Chinese ways of fighting malaria. At that point, over 240,000 compounds had already been tested for use in potential anti-malarial drugs. None of them had worked. Finally, her team found a reference to sweet wormwood, which had been used in China almost 2 millennia ago to treat intermittent fevers, a symptom of malaria. She and her colleagues fortified this ancient cure that has now saved millions of lives in Southeast Asia, China, Africa, South America, owing to the work, the passion, and the dedication of this humble pioneer. One of the most fascinating aspects of Nobel laureates are that if they engage in arts and crafts, they have a threefold statistical advantage of being a Nobel Prize winner, according to 2 researchers at my undergraduate university, Michigan State. These researchers also found that arts and crafts play an important role in scientific discoveries. Scientific work and artistic hobbies are inextricably intertwined. For example, in 1978, physics laureate Robert Wilson was also a professional sculptor. He saw the creative process of conceptualizing and designing a super collider as quite similar to making a sculpture. Wilson believed that superior scientific achievement is as awesome and beautiful as is the best art. Nobel laureate Georg von Bekesi believed in the cross-fertilization of knowledge and skills. As a student, he was fixated on the question of why it was so difficult to imagine something new and of where were the limits to fantasy. He said that it was extremely difficult to recognize such borderlines in a chemistry or physics book, but it was very easy to observe them in the history of art. As a student of art, he discovered the components that characterized the best art imagination: surprise, consistency, scale. Also, he characterized the greatest science in that way. And that brings me to Huawei. It's a global company that excels in the art and science of business, especially in the face of existential challenges and adversity. Before I knew much about Huawei, I have to admit that I only had heard about what I came to learn was an orchestrated effort to discredit, cripple, and potentially destroy a world-renowned model company by those who couldn't or wouldn't fairly compete with it. Huawei is a company that Drucker would have loved because they aren't merely problem solvers so much as they're seekers of opportunities that many others were blind to. In many fields of ICT, they literally created the future. They seem to have followed Drucker's playbook on corporate social responsibility to the letter. And as a company that always searches for change, responds to it and exploits it as an opportunity. It's also a company that Schumpeter would have applauded as a true practitioner of creative destruction. He would have seen them as having this entrepreneur spirit. Schumpeter believed that existing companies have to either quickly master a new environment or they succumb to it. He called it a process of industrial mutation. The external challenges Huawei has faced these recent years have mutated well. And while striving are more, they're striving and they're more than surviving. There are several things that stand out to me that make, that I admire about Huawei. Doing conferences like this and developing new talent and improving current ones is one of them. Another is that the company is set up to reward creativity, to create a better future, and to give a high degree of independence to workers to be creative and achieve progress that leads to a better world. Another is the sheer number of patents that Huawei secured based on its prolific research and development. And still another is the level of quality of creative talent that Huawei has amassed here and elsewhere. And in Austria, I'm really impressed with Huawei's efforts to use technology to improve the environment, as well as to make agriculture even more productive, even in the face of the global economic crisis. I hope that I've given you some food for thought on how to turn innovation into action for a better world. I've learned so much this afternoon, and I thank you all so much for that. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Harvey. That was so inspiring. And well, I mean, you said it better than any of us. So thank you for sharing your experience with Huawei. We are a big family. We are present all over the world. And it is true that we have so many friends and so many colleagues and also so many students empowered. by our talent programs. So it is great. It is great to be able to be part of this family. And as you say, as you can see, we are getting ready to host our next panel. This is the closing panel of the afternoon, and we are slowly but surely getting close to dinner time, which is exciting, right? And much needed at this moment. So if I may welcome on stage our next panelists. These are Anne Babylon Tobenbacher and Dr. Effie Pilarino and Emina Abrahamsdottir. Please join me on the stage. I'm trying. You saw that I'm learning Greek. So with Sophia, I didn't have enough luck, but with you, I think that it's getting better. Well, then that's the key then. So I'm very happy. Well, as you can see, actually, in our second panel today, we have 3 speakers and 1 listener, which is great because Anne, as I'm gonna introduce you, we are 3 speakers now, so I think we can spend a little bit more time on each of you. But I want you all to know that one thing I admire about Huawei is that as we were seeing before, there is a huge gap in technology when it comes to women becoming mothers. As Elova was mentioning, the challenge sometimes is not to attract women, but to retain women in the tech sector. And one of the obstacles is this: what do you do when you're a mother? Do you stay at home and you don't go to conferences because you have a baby to take care of? So in Huawei, we are of the opinion like, no, if you want, just bring your baby, because what's the problem, right? That's what we do. So thank you, Anne Babylon Teubenbacher, for being with us today with your wonderful baby. And you're of course the partner of CPC AG. You will introduce yourself in more detail now. And we also have Dr. Effie Pilarino, a Swiss fintech influencer. You will also tell us a lot about that. What is it like to be an influencer? And Emina Abrahamsdottir, you're the CEO of Go Gender. Thank you, Emina, also for joining us. And so let's start the discussion. And I want to ask you first. I've been reading your biography, and I was amazed because you've been all over the world. I mean, I don't know a single country where you have not been. So that's very admirable. And I want to ask you, so after being all over the world, you say that everything is possible, yet nothing is easy. Why do you think that?
You can just speak, yeah? Yeah, I think it's just because, as you said, everything is possible. And even I think today is a good example. When I got the invite for the conference on Sunday from a friend of mine from China, I was sure I'm coming to the conference. She's easy and she's mostly sleeping. And then on Monday, I got the request from Annie, from your colleagues here, who organized everything. That, would you like to go to the panel? I was, oh, my husband is on business trip. I would love to, but. And then I was starting to think about it and okay, why actually not? What the worst thing, what can happen? I need to leave. And you're all sitting here and there's an empty chair. So I was more like worrying about the moderator and said to Annie, okay, please check with the moderator if she's fine, if there's like a baby on stage. And thank you so much for accepting and being totally fine with us here. And yes, so there's a lot of things in your life you can do just by doing it.
You don't have to thank me. Actually, I do promote and I do encourage women who have just delivered a new person to this beautiful world, a new human, that they always join us. Emina knows this, she has been at our school, and also Elova. We always have female speakers bringing their babies, and it can be also the opposite. You can be also a male speaker that you have to bring your baby, and I think that's amazing. And I encourage more organizations and companies to do it, because this is the way that we really bridge the gap. But Effie, you have something to say on that, I think.
You didn't mention that the baby is a baby girl. That's
yeah.
the most important part of it. So, you know, bringing your girls to work is really starts from day one, right? It's possible to start from that day. I must say that, you know, since we are the last panel, I want to reflect very briefly, of course, on what has been said. And I'm quite amazed with the diversity of topics and angles that you brought together, really impressive. And, you know, I've heard a lot about technology. I come from the financial industry. That's my background. Since 2015, I've been absolutely focused, laser focused on innovations globally in financial services. Financial services have changed and continue to change. They're much broader than I have ever imagined, and maybe there's more. So it's kind of a challenge to follow these innovations, because not only I'm looking and monitoring how the advanced technologies like AI, like blockchain, 5G, and so on are used in financial services, but also how the business models are changing, how financial services are becoming distributed. But as an influencer, which means really that I create content and share insights on where things are heading, looking at changes globally, comparing, taking the pulse, if you want, of the market. It's about being a domain specialist, but focused on what is happening right now and what is next. So that's kind of my job. And as I said, I create and write. But I have to say, at the end of the day, technology is, and when we invite especially women to come into the tech sector, it's not about solving a tech problem. It's really about coming and participating into solving all the social problems that we have by using technology, by the way. So if you think of it that way, and I think Sally said, everybody's scaring everybody, like, oh, you come into technology, the robots, the bots, the cyber attacks, and so on. It's a scary world. No, it's the only tools that we have at the end of the day to solve any types of problems that we have. So that's my inspiration.
No, but that's great, actually, Effie, that you say that, because I have noticed, and this is your domain, that especially in the past few weeks, when it comes to finances, and let's say digital finances, there has been a lot of, I would say, people have been genuinely scared. So I don't know if you can offer us some optimism on that. Where are we heading exactly?
Yes, the truth is that I've been in financial markets from the early 90s. I started my career in New York on Wall Street on the 37th floor of the World Trade Center, of course, in a completely male-dominated industry. And it's about the culture. We're still in that system. What's the system? The financial system has a DNA and a business culture of its own, and it's definitely inherited by, male culture, which means competitiveness, aggressiveness, greed, and craziness. And we need many regulations to limit people in this industry, and I assume you're referring to the most recent blow up in the crypto industry, which, by the way, is not even a crypto problem. I mean, that business was a regular centralized business. They could have been an exchange for stocks or anything, for batteries, for all purposes, but it shows that it's the business culture that we're not focused on. And it's very disappointing, because we are at a point where we are screaming for social innovation. What I mean by social innovation is a different way of collaborating and organizing. This is the most important message. And that's why blockchain, for example, which is a collaborative technology by its nature, has so much resonated, because it promises an alternative way of organizing and collaborating, more transparent, more participatory, more fair, all those things that we want from these technologies. But of course, it's our choice and responsibility to screw up with the technology at hand. On the other hand, I have so many good things to report to you happening in fintech, meaning globally, in terms of financial inclusion, initiatives that have brought people that were completely unbanked and they're banked, but also the underserved. And because of the macroeconomic conditions that we're living in right now, there's increasingly more part of the population that is underserved. Why? Because there's more people that are becoming financially fragile. Financial fragility, if you want, is on the rise. You and I, that were not financially fragile 2 years ago, may suddenly become. We are at greater risk to become. So I'm optimistic in the sense that there are a lot of tools out there that can help, and that we will come again together, as we're living in a perma-crisis situation, to help each other. And I'm happy if you want to bring some examples around these innovations, or if you want me to stop and come back to whatever.
I will come back to you, Effie. That's very right, because you have mentioned the word permacrisis. I think this was chosen as the word of the year. We are permanently in a crisis nowadays, in Europe especially. So thank you for mentioning that. We will come back to your positive examples, but before we do that, I want to give the floor to Emina Abrahamsdottir. Emina, you don't only work with us at the school, you're one of our mentors for the future leaders, and you empower them to become actually the voices and the agents of change that this world needs. But you're also helping organizations worldwide close their gender divide, become more inclusive, and become more diverse. So I wanted to ask you, why is it actually necessary for companies to be as diverse and inclusive as possible?
Thank you. It's great to be here. Well, it is a kind of paradox that we live in a world that is diverse, and that's a fact. We can see it all over around us all the time. Each one of us is a unique, authentic being, but we still need to fight for diversity at work, at schools, at home, etc. So, and that's my job, to fight this paradox. So the businesses need diversity simply because it's good for business. There's so much research that support this. I'll give you an example. ILO, International Labour Organization, has conducted a worldwide study of 13,000 companies. And this study has shown that these companies have reported good or improved business outcomes due to gender diversity between 35 to 60% in terms of productivity, in terms of innovation and creativity, enhanced company reputation, and also attraction and retention of talent. And these companies also reported between 10 to 15% of increased profits. So in other contexts, people would say this is a good thing to do or a right thing to do. But in the business context, it's not only the right thing to do, it's also a smart thing to do. It brings better business outcomes.
Thank you, Emina. So what you do is transformative change indeed. And I wanted to go back to Anna and ask you, you also do transformative change, not only in the personal level, but also in the professional level. So I wanted to ask you, how can we ensure that this impacts that we are trying to create, all of us as individuals, but also as organizations, lasts actually, that is positive impact, that is lasts, and that it transforms society?
That's really a tough question. If I have the perfect solution for this, I think I would be like billionaire in the meantime. But of course, what is like most important and what actually make things sustainable and sticking in organizations? The most important things of organization for me also is like the culture, because the culture coming from all the individuals, all like the people in the organization in the end forms like one and what's coming up. So if you really want to have changes or transformations in an organization happening, you need to make sure to put it in the DNA. And there could be like several ways, a lot of ways. And what is important, or I think the easiest way, is to try the small things. We're talking now about like micro changes and like micro interactions of people, to have like little things coming really into the DNA and into regular processes. So as more you can put into the things which are happening in the organization anyway, the better it is to also have like the new things which you like to have happening in the organization really also staying and not disappearing after a period of time. As soon as like the campaign is over, the consultants are gone, the management changed, everything back to before.
You're absolutely right. I think, Amina, you want to react to that.
May I also add, because the transformation is the word, is the buzzword in our work. But the question is, how do we change? How do we achieve the change of structures and cultures within organizations? And there are a lot of framework for change, but the key challenge, I have reviewed literature on this, and I have a lot of practical experience. That's where the bottleneck is. People, even when organizations and people inside want to change, they don't know how to change. So we need to help them to find effective ways that are action-oriented. There are so many policies, so many strategies, so many action plans. At the world level, we have Sustainable Development Goals agenda that is that has been signed by 193 governments in the world. But this all needs to be translated into action to make the world a better place, and that's where the key problem is, and that's where we need to work. And that's why I with my practice and experience, that was always my biggest pain. When I left my projects or assignments, I knew the work wasn't done, and I knew that people behind who were working there didn't have capacity to continue working. So that's why I love digital technologies, because we can create tools that can help these people to continue working, even when the consultants are gone, as you say, and the projects have ended. And with the tools that are effective, that can save a lot of time and save money, tools that are affordable for anybody in the world, which can also narrow the gap between the developed countries and developing countries. My main work is in developing countries most of the time. So I think also we can cover a lot of social issues aspects through using digital technologies in the right way to address diversity and inequalities.
Thank you, Amina. That's absolutely true. And as the name of this panel goes, well, turning innovation into action for a better world. That's our goal. So Effie, I have another question for you, but you wanted to share some good examples on how actually technology is helping to change the game for the better.
Yeah, I mean, some examples in the financial world. And before I share these examples, I think it's important to remind ourselves that financial wellness, is part of creating a better world. And it's not only about, having a larger wallet, so to speak. Financial wellness is not only about the amount of money that you have. It is much broader. It's about the security that you feel around money, and the financial planning ability for your life, and those types of aspects. And it is clearly proven that mental fitness, if you want, and stress and so on, is very much linked to financial wellness, more than 80%. So again, it's much more important than what meets the eye. It's not about, do I have 100,000 or am I living paycheck by paycheck and so on. So a lot of the innovations, the tech that is used to improve financial wellness is at the same time taking care, first of all these gaps that you've already mentioned, pay gaps between, gender pay gaps, or gaps in pension funds, in planning, in investing that exists between women or in general more vulnerable parts of the society. So we have apps that are and technologies that are addressing that and make it much easier. And they begin typically with education, because if you think of it, it's because we lack awareness, we lack the skills, we lack understanding, we don't know how to go about it. So for example, in the UK, there's what we consider a financial wellness app that is called Smart Purse. So they really are into understanding the problem, what is the part of the population, and addressing this through education, coaching, and then offering specific tools. In Europe, there is in Germany, FizzyMed, which is a combination also of, I would call it e-learning communities that people can participate in, and also what we call a robo-advisor, which is really simple way to start investing with small amounts in low cost sort of alternatives, and just, euro cost averaging, you put aside a certain amount. So it's about saving, investing, and so on. Again, because unfortunately, a lot of women are scared of investing. So it's really about the feelings. The more interesting technologies are, I find, come from emerging markets, from places like Brazil, for example, where a lot of the financial innovation, like Moeda Seeds, is one of my favorite examples, which is blockchain powered, and it's about social impact. It's microfinancing for women that are what I would call small or solo entrepreneurs, and they get this funding, and through blockchain, they can really be accountable, and it has helped a lot of people, and they only do that for social impact projects. So you have to, whatever you're doing is for social impact. In Africa, we have also many examples of such apps with social impact. In the Philippines, we have a wonderful InsurTech app that is really specialized in insuring women after birth or for congenital diseases for the baby and so on. So they're very sort of focused on that. So you see how technology is, I mean, it's everywhere and can address very specific needs, and because the cost is low, because it can become very simple, and at the same time you can combine it with learning and sharing. So it's important. At the end of the day, I see that technology is becoming more like it's lifestyle tools, right? So like you have a fitness app, you have an app for everything. And maybe one day, like more in China, we will have not the super apps because we're in a different world, but at least a dashboard where we can better manage all these, whether it is a physical fitness app or our money, our savings. I remember now there's an app in the UK, it's called My Cashmere, and it's about helping you save for luxury items, especially women that love that. And also you can opt to crowdfund a luxury item and share it. So, we could buy, if you like, a Louis Vuitton bag, I don't know. and we can share it, and agree when to wear. So you see
Yes.
how technology is really
changing lives, and thank you for
Changing lives.
bringing these positive examples to the forefront. I don't know if we are gonna share and buy a luxury bag, but also we can crowdfund a very much needed projects for social impact, as you said. And we saw before the ladies behind the Lilia app against gender-based violence. That's one of the pinnacles against.
If I can add, now that you said crowdfund, in the venture capital world, in the startup world, women are clearly underfunded, startups by women. I mean, the numbers are, single digit versus men. However, if you look at crowdfunding, which is a fintech innovation, right? There, women are doing very well. Over 50% of projects by women are actually reach their crowdfunding goals. They are funded. So this technological innovation is proving extremely useful for women to access capital through crowdfunding platforms.
Yes, Effie, exactly. Thank you for that word of hope. And let's join forces and say that tech for good is the new cool. We need tech for good. Technology for good is the future. And I will hand it over to you, Anne, but Emina, you want to add for a long time.
Examples of apps, there are also growing number of apps or software as service solutions that help organizations work inside and also outside their operation with their customers, clients, with their different stakeholders on different gender issues. For example, pay gap is one of the issues. So I just learned when I was in Iceland last week that there's a new software as a service there called Pay Analytics, for example. And that's why I also decided to initiate something like that, because I see that as a big problem. Organizations don't know how to work with themselves. Basically, they need to know what their gaps are and do the thorough self-assessment, so to say, and also know how to do it. Because every commitment, as I said, we have a lot of documents, every commitment needs to be translated into an action, into a behavior, in order for us to create the impact that we want to see. So I see growing number of impact-driven software as service solutions, which is very happy. It's a competitive environment. It's something new in the history of humanity. So it's great to be part of it.
Yeah, we are upgrading as we move on. Very short, Effie. Tell me, very short.
Early wage access is a software that now is very much adopted by companies because they realize that a lot of employees need access earlier from month end if they're paid monthly or bi-weekly in the US, and they need the money in advance. And instead of, loading debt and so on, they offer them these programs. So continuously this, taking care of your employees, taking care of your customers through technology and improving what is needed and data, you understand what's going on.
That's what we all need, definitely. And we need to take care of each other, as also Sabina Siofu said before she left. Anne, some final thoughts on this. I will give you the floor for a final, let's say, thought on everything you have heard today, because also we are educating our most youngest panel contributor. So what's your final thoughts about today after hearing all these inspiring speakers as well?
Wow, it was a long day, really a lot of inspiration for me. And what is probably my final thought, and I actually I'm very happy to hear also the previous speaker about the topics, which also now even being a mom, very close to my mind, is how can we bring more women and also especially moms into technology, into business, to make sure also their minds are into the products, into the things, into the testing. One thing what's really I just learned recently about it, and I was shocked, to be very honest, is about AI. And of course, if AI is trained by men, it's keeping to be learning, thinking like men, and all the thinking and everything what women need are just out of the system, and it will never come in. And this is a very easy example. I think it's so important to make sure that, and not only women and moms, but also like inclusion was a big topic here. All the different perspectives which are important coming into technology and making the world better by this.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are very wise thoughts. So thank you. We need, as you said, Eloa, we need women to be creators and not just users of technologies. But as you said, how can you use an AI product for your baby, for example, if someone without a, let's say, mother's mindset was behind it? We need this. We need mothers, we need women, and we need people from basically all backgrounds in technology. So just let me ask the audience, if anyone has a question, a comment, a remark, you can use the chance actually to ask a question on everything in general that you have heard today, because I'm sure that our speakers will have the answers. So anyone? Yes, we have one question here. It's coming, it's almost, who will be the lucky one? All right, so please introduce yourself first and then ask a question.
Hello, I'm Lara, and I've been meaning to ask this the entire day because Effie was sitting right next to me and I was holding it just for this panel, and gladly you mentioned about financial inclusion, and that goes for people that are not banked, they're underserved and underprivileged as well. You talked a little bit about the blockchain and how that could improve financial inclusion. But what's your take on decentralized finance, especially on social impact right now and the opportunities to come?
Look, first of all, financial inclusion is a bit of an umbrella term, so it would take long to it's not just measuring, who has a bank account. And in any case, we are beyond that. You don't even need the bank account, and you're not going to be counted as financially excluded. Decentralized finance has a lot of potential, and we are seeing interests from existing, what we call incumbent financial institutions, be it JP Morgan, be it BNY Mellon, and so on. Even though the user experience is very sort of not there yet, but it's a different way of managing processes behind the scenes. And I strongly believe that it will be adopted in certain areas. I do not think that its first use case will be in financial inclusion. Financial inclusion in emerging markets, we have other technologies that are much more mature, like wallet technologies, mobile money, and where we're going to move forward is by building bridges cross-border. So right now it's easy to go within one country in Africa, for example, or Latin America, and through these technologies of wallets, QR codes, and so on, really enable the population to do the basic things that are needed to participate in an economy, which are really receive money, send money, get a loan, the basic things. That's how you start. But then our world is globalized, so you need to be able to go cross-border for the supply chain and so on. So that is where we see, and I'm happy to speak more with you privately about DeFi, because I don't think everybody's interested in that.
No, not for that, but mostly because we need to go for dinner and everyone is looking forward to that. But as you said, the conversation continues. So any other pressing questions? Otherwise, we're going to move on. All right, so we can actually move on. Now, I need to ask you, our dear women, and also women in tech, to act as journalists once again, as we had in the first panel, and give one headline to close this wonderful part of the conference and almost this conference. So Emina, what's your headline?
Well, businesses have tremendous potential to create impact in this world and make it a better place. Millions and millions of people work somewhere, and we all want to work, and that's the great potential.
Thank you for that. Effie, your headline.
Intention matters much more than the tech. Come to the tech and don't confuse and think that AI is about coding or engineering. There's much more you can contribute to in these areas.
Absolutely, the world is unlimited of possibilities. Anna, your final headline.
Just coming back to the beginning, nothing is easy, everything is possible. I think it's fitting really well also for today
That
and
is
for our
true.
mission here.
Everything is possible. So thank you for having showed us the way, Emina, Effie, and Dana in so many different domains. And we strive for a much continuing the interesting conversation at dinner in just a while. So thank you so much. And well, thank you all. You can take back your seats. And no, we just 1 second. We are indeed gonna take a family photo very soon. And I think yes, we need we need to modify a bit the stage now. It's gonna happen very quickly. So just let me introduce you to our closing keynote speaker of the day. Unfortunately, this is coming to an end, but it has to be this way. Yeah, but we will continue also in a few weeks in another location. We will let you know news about this soon. But well, we are joined today by our senior vice president, Afke Shart. She's not only 1 second. We will give Afke a huge round of applause. But after I say how wonderful she is, because this is true. Yes, and it's not just to fill the time, although you see the chairs being taken. It's actually true. Afke was the vice president also of GSMA, a very big international corporation, and also a member of the Dutch parliament before that. So Afke knows how hard it is to be a woman in politics, to be a woman in business, and as Anna said, it's not always easy, or rather nothing is easy, but everything is possible if we want. And that's why Afke has joined us also at the School for Female Leadership in the Digital Age. She has a lot to share with women wanting to be future leaders and with women wanting to make a difference. And that's why she also has a very exciting announcement to make today. So thank you, Afke, and please join me.
Thank you, Berta, and thank you, Colin. Where are you, Colin? Over there, for this wonderful event. It's been a real pleasure to be here with you this afternoon and to hear all these great stories. Very inspiring. I myself, my mantra is when in doubt, just do. That actually brought me to a lot of exotic places, including Shenzhen. That is a beautiful city in China where I live right now, where I work for Huawei. And yeah, that's been probably one of the best decisions ever. Took my family over there as well. I have 3 children. And yeah, that's been a magnificent experience so far. And well, just looking back, and I will not be too long. I'm very much aware that I'm, holding you from dinner. But, listening to our first speaker, the Nobel Prize winner, her name is Ada, but also the first women in tech, her name was Ada Lovelace. So if you would ever consider, a good name for a baby girl, then that would perhaps be a good option, because Ada Lovelace, as all of you perhaps know, is one of the first women in tech and the first computer scientist. And she was also the one who invented the computer together with Charles Babbage. So not only that, but I find interesting, but also, the ladies from Reykjavik, and Berta, you've been there last week. And that's actually a really important event that is held there every year. That's like the Davos for women. But it's also for a reason that they held that in Reykjavik in Iceland, because that is the best country to live in, according to the World Economic Forum, for the 12th year in a row. Best country when it comes to political leadership, for equal pay, for opportunities for women to live there. So a lot of countries can learn on how Iceland and Reykjavik are doing and transform women in leadership programs. And at Huawei, we also do a lot because, as Berta said, I also have an experience in politics, been a member of parliament, but I love working for a big corporation, also used to work for Microsoft many years ago. And I believe that, working for a big corporation is like working for a government. I come from a very small country, the Netherlands, and I guess budgets, but also impact when working for a corporation like Huawei is perhaps even bigger than when you would work, you know, in a smaller country. So we are active in almost every country in the world, and we have 200,000 people working for us worldwide, and 100,000 of them are in research. So that's also quite amazing. So we are also number 2 when it comes to patents worldwide already these days. And, you know, that's quite an accomplishment. But if you look at the scientists that we have, a lot of them are already female. So that's really good to see. Our chief research scientist is female, but also the women who has been introducing 5G and works on that, Miss Daisy, she's also female, and many more. So I actually feel, you know, coming from Europe myself, now living in China, that it's much less of an issue in China than it is in the Western world. So there's also a lot to learn from each other there. So we also have a program that we invented by Joanna, like Colin has been speaking about, just 2 years ago. And it's been quite amazing because we have programs in place for years already, like our Seeds for the Future. Maybe you've heard of that we already have since 2008. But our Women in Tech, our specific program for Women in Tech, has just started in 2019 because we thought, you know, all over the world, we need more specific programs to promote women leadership and get more women on board, because, you know, that's the interest of a company like ours. We need all the women that we can have to work for us and to have all these great inventions that we have seen today. So yeah, that's what we have been doing. We are also releasing today a white paper, and perhaps, yeah, you know, you see this here on screen with a QR code. It's very common in China, a little less here in Europe, but I can see that in many restaurants here in Vienna, you can also use QR, so that's great. So if you can, scan that, you will have access to our white paper, our equity white paper, where you can find a lot of amazing stories from my colleagues. But also it includes our statement on gender equality, and it also, you know, promotes our our goals on what we want to achieve when it comes to female leadership. So I would really like to recommend this white paper for you, because it's been a worthwhile experience and project to work on, and it also gives you a bit of progress of what we have been doing so far. And I think, you know, we're quite proud of what we have been established. Also, you know, what Bertha has been doing with the European Leadership Academy. I had the honor to be there as well this summer in Prague, where he had like 29 students, that was the other program, but we had 29 students, not only from Europe, but also from the Western Balkan countries, and a student from Ukraine. So I thought that was a magnificent event, and thank you, Bertha, for organizing that, and for Huawei to being one of the big sponsors of it. So that's been great. And so that's, we're always very pragmatic in what we want to achieve. And also I met Lara there, who's also in the room. I met her in Portugal, where we organized one of our summer camps by the Huawei Portugal people. And that is when we also promote a lot of scholarships and mentorships. It was also great to see all these talent. So I'm very hopeful for the future, because there's so many fantastic women around, and yeah, so the future is bright. It doesn't look that bright when you look at all the UN and WEF reports, but I think, you know, it's just a matter of time when we will have a more balanced leadership, and where women will rule the world. And that's actually a quote, and that's where I will finish, by Peter Drucker, you know, the one that we are honoring tomorrow at the Peter Drucker Forum, for which we are, organizing this in the sidelines. So perhaps I see a few of you there as well. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining today. And Colin will come here to end for us together with Berta to make another, a good announcement. Thank you.
Thank you, Afka. Jamie calling. Thank you so much. And it's true, tomorrow we have the Peter Drucker Forum. So see you there. And thank you, Afka, for all the work you've been doing. We need this guiding, I say, lights always. Now that I have seen the Northern Lights for the first time in my life, I need to always refer to the lights. And you're a guiding light for us, Afka. So it's great. And I want to, before you speak, I want to thank you, because otherwise I cannot do it after. So there is a few people that I want to thank for these wonderful events today. One of them is you, Colin, and the other one is Annie Su, our colleague in headquarters. They were, as I said before, the minds and the hearts, but also the fingers behind this event. And they have done tremendous work to have it running. So thank you, Colin, and thank you, Annie, so very much. And one second, I will thank a few more people, and then we applaud, because we have really so many amazing colleagues. I also want to thank, after was referring to our Schools for Female Leadership in the Digital Age from the European Leadership Academy. This has been possible also thanks to the support and the vision of our Chief EU Representative, Tony Jean. And also I want to thank Vicky Zhang from our editorial department. Vicky is another one of the guiding lights that we have in the headquarters, and she was recently, I think, in Thailand as well, with a project for digital inclusion in rural areas. And it's very important. It's very important, the work that they are all doing together with our global president, Jeff Wang, president of our Public Affairs and Communications Department. And it's really because of these people that such events and schools and scholarships that as well are possible. So thank you, Colin. Thanks to them, and thanks to the whole Huawei family. And Colin is going to give you a final invitation to join us at the back of the room and also deliver the final word. So thank you all. I am Berta Herrero-Estalayo, and it has been a pleasure to host you today.
Thank you, Berta. Actually, I want to thank everybody Berta just thanked. But I won't do that again, because that seems a little bit long. And actually, I just want to emphasize that today Huawei as a company has really done a great job in terms of doing what we want to do, which is tech by her, for her, and with her. For her, the basic logic is very easy to understand. For her is that we want to use our technology to the benefits of women. And with her is that we want to increase the participation of female in terms of the ICT industry as well as the tech industry. We've done tremendously with that, thanks to Berta, especially that Berta's project, the leadership academy in the Europe is really amazing. You guys have to check this out. And also, like in the African area in Ghana, we have supported over like 10,000 female students to receive ICT courses, which is like freely sponsored by Huawei. And many places in other places of the world, for example, in Latin Africa, in Latin America, that we also cooperated with local governments to give those free courses to those students. However, we just noticed at early of this year that we haven't done much with Tech by Her, which is about the tech leadership, the female leaderships in the tech industry. So this year, our key project is to promote the Tech by Her thing. So we actually traveled 4 continents. We've been to 6 countries to find those female leaders, and we conducted interviews with them, and we want to let them share their experience in how they achieved what they have achieved, what's their secret recipes. And we have made that into a video, and we are going to release those videos in the next 3 months generally until the next the International Women's Day next year. So this is going to be a long-lasting project. And if I may, to bother you for a little bit longer, I will show you the scene video we've made for this project. Thank you.
My name is Teresa Cervero. Basically, what I'm doing is design and develop technology for future machines to solve problems like where the universe was created. I've seen a change, increasing the number of women in computer science. They are moving in a good direction, in a better direction.
My name is Arancha, I'm a realist painter. And now with digital technology, we have that access to the whole information. We can be inspired. The possibilities that we have to create in front of us are changing too.
My name is Irina Bokova. I'm the former Director General of UNESCO. During my time when we launched big initiatives like the Global Compact for Girls' Education, I always thought that what is important is to give hope on one side to these women and girls, and on the other side, of course, to create the opportunities for them.
My name is Atsuko Okuda. Our overall mandate and vision is to connect the unconnected by 2030 and to make sure that people will be able to enjoy the benefits of digital technology through digital transformation. This tool is really powerful for developing countries, and this will really change the development landscape.
Nama saya Mira Taiba, tugasnya adalah basically menjadi fondasi bagi transformasi digital. Karena kita menyediakan, Kominfo menyediakan infrastruktur akses digital, sehingga itu tadi pertumbuhan ekonomi kita bisa lebih kuat, bisa lebih cepat, bisa lebih tinggi. Jadi kita meng-unlock potensi perempuan ini melalui teknologi digital.
My name is Judith Epuz Ashidi. I just asked myself, what does it take to make the best out of this position? And I just go for it. I do what is necessary to be done. I've always put myself as a boss, period, not a woman. And I'm like a role model to my folks in my community.
Okay, meu nome é Maria dos Remédios Freitas Carvalho Branco. Quando a pandemia começou, minha filha desenvolve, Maíra Carvalho desenvolve sites. A gente precisava de um meio para publicar essas informações. O site era uma... Então, a internet tem esse papel que eu chamo de democrático, que faz com que dá oportunidade para muitas pessoas divulgarem o que pensam, pessoas que...
Arancha, I've seen a lot of powerful and confident women in your paintings. Are they a reflection of yourself?
I think they are the reflection of those feelings that I love, that I like, that I look for. Those women somehow are trying to convey those feelings for all of us. Irina, as a woman, have you faced difficulties or opportunities in your diplomatic career?
I think the democratic changes in my country unleashed women's potential and women's equality. Unfortunately, in the tech industry, women are a vast minority. I would say a small minority of it. And everybody say, oh, you're the first woman. So I felt a particular responsibility also to promote women's empowerment. Akoto-san, being a representative of the ITU in this part of the world, what it is to set the standards for all the ICT industry?
To make sure that our recommendations and advice work for inclusive development and connecting the unconnected. Ms. Taiba, you and your ministry have led many initiatives to create opportunities for women. Which initiatives are you most proud of?
The discussion on the issue of digital gender gap was brought onto the table of the G20 Digital Economic Working Group that there is a need to strategize and initiate ways to support the participation of women in the digital economy. Hi Judith, from your own experience, what digital skills would be most helpful for African women working in the telecommunications industry?
Hi, Mira. I believe the basic tool that she needs to have is to be able to operate a computer. Innovation today is all about the digital economy. So we just need to train the young girls that they can do anything that they want to do. Now, Maria, as a medical doctor, has that experience helped you in your different roles as a professor or as a public speaker?
Eu acho que a atividade médica é um desafio, mas eu acho que a atividade de professora é um desafio muito maior. Então, o aluno está sempre demandando informações, que faz com que você também acabe indo atrás dessa informação. Olá, Tereza. Eu gostaria de saber o que acontece num centro de supercomputação que estimula uma mulher como você a ir trabalhar todos os dias num ambiente como esse?
But I think what's important what we are doing. We are working on technology. It's going to be used in the future. And I'm being part of the solution of our current and future problems.
So thank you, everybody. And I do think that Huawei as a company and also all of us sitting here can be a solution to the future problem of like the gender equality. Thank you very much for today, for joining us. And I won't bother you for another moment before we get the dinner. So I think everybody must be hungry. And we, before we actually go to the dinner, could we gather in front of the big banner that we can take a group photo? Here, okay, sure. Sure. So how about let's gather in the front? Thank you so much.